Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, April 26, 2018. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 1028.
This is No Agenda.
In celebrating good times and broadcasting live from the capital of the Drone Star State here in Austin, Tejas, in the Cludio in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where it's gloomy. And by the way, the garbage trucks have already gone by, and so has the train. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Whoa. Did you speed up, or was that Skype speeding you up?
That was me.
Oh, all right. Good. All right, so you're a little, are you under the weather or just congested?
I'm fine, but it's just like I'm congested.
Yeah, you got it. You're nasally.
Just like the traffic, by the way.
Yeah, nasally.
The only difference is I don't have potholes. Yet.
Yeah, you do. As if that scourge wasn't enough. Have you run into any of these scooters, these electric scooters in San Francisco?
No, most of them actually go hit. A lot of them, they don't report on this, but they go driving down the road and then they hit debris or the garbage in the streets or whatever. And a lot of them hit human feces and they go flipping.
They go flipping?
Head over heels.
No, that's not true.
I have a report from San Francisco on the latest on the garbage situation.
On the garbage or on the, because these scooters is what I was, they've now infiltrated Austin, these electric scooters. They're everywhere.
What they're doing in San Francisco is they're confiscating them because what people do is they leave them all over the place.
That's the whole point. You're allowed to, the company allows you to leave them anywhere.
Well, they're dropping them off at the bottom of stair steps and they're just dumping them. So the city's grabbing them and keeping them.
I know a guy who goes out in the middle of the night to collect them and then to go charge them.
Yeah.
Which is...
what a great job.
No, it's not a great job. But more importantly, it really... I don't know. It's this whole thing is so un-Austin, if I can say anything like that. To have these scooters, and everyone's on the sidewalks with them. Downtown has become annoying. Get off my sidewalk with your damn scooter.
Get those scooters off the sidewalks.
Exactly. I'm turning into you.
No, I'm not that way. I think it's fantastic that there's all these scooters everywhere running into human poop and in the garbage they can't clean up. And when I was coming back from that last trip, there was somebody they were discussing this in the first class line. I was next to that line because I was not in first class, saying, I don't see San Francisco is the filthiest first world city there is. It's like Calcutta. and so they had a discussion of this on the news because they're trying. Everyone knows this, and the guy who's responsible for bringing conventions in, he says they're losing business, rightfully so.
Yes.
And I have a clip
filled with debris, litter, human waste, and drug paraphernalia.
Mayor Mark Farrell wants to spend nearly $13 million the next 2 years to clean up the filth. The mayor wants 5 new pit stops like this one, sort of one-stop shopping with these dog waste bags and needle disposals. $3.5 million will be earmarked for new steam street cleaning equipment. DPW's Mohammed Nuru says they're getting hundreds of calls for service every day.
And we're double and triple shifting our steam cleaners and a lot of our equipment. With this funding, we'll be able to buy some more equipment.
The plan will include hiring 44 new cleaning workers who will target districts which need help the most. Loretta Lawrence says her Excelsior neighborhood is one of them.
I have to walk through human feces all over the sidewalks.
Some residents are skeptical. They've heard the promises before.
And I think they're putting a lot of money into programs that aren't working.
But it is a crisis and we need to act.
Joe D'Alessandro heads SF Travel, the city's convention and visitors agency. We took a short walk down Market Street near the financial district. We didn't have to look far before we found trash blocking part of a roadway. The dirty, unsafe streets, he says, are taking a toll.
We are losing business. We have definite groups that have said that they can't come to San Francisco as long as the streets are like this.
The message from Mayor Farrell: time to stop talking trash. Time to do something about it.
Is an interesting crossover with this.
Well, before you go on, though, I want to mention at the beginning of that report, they talked about this one-stop thing where they have a bathroom and then a place you put use needles, and a doggy bag thing. The doggy bag thing is not for dog poop;
it's for human poop.
Yeah.
I'm reading.
Welcome to San Francisco, the filthiest town. It's been run by Democrats forever. This just shows.
I'm reading the what is this? The Insider. People are vandalizing the scooters taking over San Francisco with everything from stickers, which they put on the QR code, which is very funny. Or they that's
just a great idea for us.
This is what. Thank you. Well, let me finish the story. Let's get back to that because it is a good idea. The other thing they're doing is they're pooping on the scooters, on the step part, which makes a lot of sense.
Wow.
Yeah. But yes, what an opportunity. So the way these things work is there's a QR code on the top. You scan that with the app, and then it activates so you can drive it. But we just need a No Agenda QR sticker to be on there. Just boop, pops up the No Agenda website.
Yeah.
It's just another fabulous idea.
You should just cover with No Agenda stickers anyway. Yeah, this idea is some VC-funded thing.
And it just popped out of nowhere.
Yes, it
everywhere.
Did. It started a couple months ago, maybe a little longer, but it first started showing up as a nuisance a couple of months ago. And you see these little racks of. There's also bikes. There's a bunch of bike operations.
Yeah, we got that too. And I don't mind the bike operation because
the bikes are the same thing.
No. You have to put them back. You have to, unless it's a different operation. These. Oh, okay. Here you have to put it back into the rack.
Well, yeah. Anyway, this is all part of just get out of the car and let's walk more so you can step in dog poop. And human poop.
Human poop, even better. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just more signs of the pending...
It's making me sick.
The pending apocalypse. It's not going to end well, any of this. Hey, this show now officially being archived for the Royal Dutch Library. How about that?
This show is being archived by the Royal Dutch Library?
Yes, I received a very long, very thoughtful email from them, which was pretty much...
Is this because you're a famous Dutchman?
Yes.
Who's not a Dutchman?
Who's not a Dutchman? Yes, exactly. It must be related. And they said, we're now going to archive, and they give all these URLs, one of which is adam.curry.com/everything. That's everything. That's the show notes. That's the MP3 file, links to the MP3 files at least. As soon as we have, and we're getting pretty close to some transcribing stuff, we'll put that in automatically. And so, because it's all underneath that domain name, this is all being archived. And their note was really nice. Like, if you have any reason you don't want this, let us know and we won't archive it. I'm like, no, please, let us live on forever.
That's great.
Forever we shall live. Better than Madame Tussauds. Yeah, I saw a report last night.
They're going to put a picture. They're going to put you and Madame Tussauds thing?
No, I was going to bring something up. Last night, I don't know, it was Trump and Melania in Madame Tussauds. I didn't even know which one. And I had to stop for a second.
You couldn't tell the difference.
No, Madame Tussauds is horrible. It looks nothing like the people in question.
Yeah, I've noticed this.
But something happened because when I was a kid, I get to say it, Madame Tussauds, which I think at that time was only in London, a big deal. You went there. It's like, the likeness is uncanny. And many of these people had stood model. They had the plaster put over their face and everything to really make sure they got the right contours. And somewhere along the line, someone hijacked this brand. They bought it. They franchised it because now every country has a Madame Tussauds somewhere. But there's no real likeness. It's just bad puppets, bad mannequins of famous people.
Every once in a while, there's a good one.
Rarely. And the one of Donald and Melania Trump is not at all. I mean, none of them. Just bring up any random Madame Tussauds website. What happened there? And why do people still go to stand in between likenesses that don't look like the people? What kind of idiots are you, wetware? Just a bunch of wetware people. It's stupid.
Wetware. This is your new word.
It is, and I think that's really where we're going. Is we are the wetware.
So since you mentioned Donald and Melania, I would like to make some commentary on their dinner.
With Macron and his gentile wife.
Yes, and I want to do that because I saw the check for the dinner out that Macron held with the Melania, and Donald.
Yes.
At the Jules Verne.
Oh, the check, as in the bill, what they had and what they paid, presumably. Yes.
Apparently, it's about a party of about 24, and they bought a bottle of.
Here we go. Mm-hmm. Here we go.
Of the Midas 30-liter that Ace of Spades champagne.
I'm not familiar with it.
Well, this is a champagne Armand. I have to go look it up, the exact name, but it's a very famous champagne, and it's so good that the brand is actually owned by Jay-Z.
Ah.
So I thought it was odd.
Stop. So anything owned by Jay-Z is now considered good, including the Nets?
No. The wine was good. Here's what happened. This is my understanding. Jay-Z, who's a promoter of product, and I think he's a musician, maybe? Is that what it is?
And a rapper.
Well, he's a promoter.
Yeah.
And he's married to somebody famous. What's her name? I can't remember.
Queen Bee. Baychella. Beyonce.
And he was doing I guess he was doing a deal with Rhetoric, and he had a beef because he was a Cristal drinker.
Right.
This is a big deal. There's about 10 of these super champagnes, and Cristal, which happens to also be my favorite in that league. Apparently they got into a beef because I think what happened, because I've noticed that a lot of the champagne vendors get very irked when you take their $200 bottle of champagne, shake it up, and then spray it on somebody.
Yes.
To the French, this is a great insult.
Of course it's an insult to me.
It's an insult to everybody.
Yes. It's stupid.
I mean, if you're going to spray, get some cooks.
By the way, it's called popping bottles. Popping bottles in the club.
Get some cooks, shake it up, and spray it all over the place. But Louis Rhetoric, Cristal, or Dom Perignon, Dom as they like to call it, is not really the stuff. When I see people shaking it up and spraying it on each other, I think it's disgusting. There's other stuff you can do it with. So apparently this beef led him to this other peculiar champagne, which is a little kind of a over-manufactured product. It has a lot of idiosyncrasies to it. It's very much like a Krug. And it wins a lot of awards. It's not a slouch of a product. I always thought it was just some junk somebody put together just to fool the black man. And
okay. Yeah, sure.
And no, that's not the case at all. It turns out to be this fabulous product. And so that is what, for some reason, I think Macron bought this, and it's a 30-liter bottle. This is the biggest bottle of champagne you can buy from any brand. And it's the bottle itself weighs 100 pounds. And I should mention, just as a little aside here, and I'm going to actually stop pretty quickly because I know this bores a lot of people, but champagne in anything other than a Magnum and others bigger bottles,
yes,
is all made in other bottles and then poured into the big bottle. They don't actually make it in the bottle when it's a big giant bottle.
I hadn't really thought about it, but does that make a difference? Right. So, okay.
Yeah, I think it does because you're pouring the champagne. It's going flat.
Right.
I mean, you're going to lose carbonation. It's not going to be better.
So they have it in sealed bottles, then they open those bottles, or they put it in the bottles.
Yeah.
They open those bottles and then put them in a new bottle and then cork it.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Well, because the way champagne's made, the bottle is like set up on a rack and you shake it and you make all the sediment fall to the bottom. You can only do that with certain sized bottles, and you can't do it with these monster bottles, and so you have to kind of fake it.
Okay.
So Macron paid, and so it's on the bill, 130,000 euros.
And did he pay with Visa?
I don't know, maybe
MasterCard. Crypto.
I have no idea, but it seemed extravagant. So with that in mind, I don't know what the dinner was that they had at the government dinner was, but that thing was ridiculous. He also had something like a $10,000 bottle of tequila. I had to look this up. I never heard of this tequila, but it's apparently about 10 grand.
Wow.
So
How about the wine they served at the dinner?
And by the way, and on that same list, 2 glasses of Coca-Cola, $24. Who do you think that was for?
Yeah, I don't know. What restaurant was this again?
That was at Jules Verne.
So I can avoid it?
Oh, no, Jules Verne's a great place.
Yeah, but I can't afford that. $12 Coke.
But you're not going to be buying that kind of thing. For one thing, it's an insult.
Hi, I'm here for dinner. I'd like 2 Cokes. That's it. Thank you. And some bread.
Yeah, well, they're assuming you're going to... It's normal. It's a 2-star restaurant, so it's not cheap.
So well, I want to ask you something else, unless you need to continue with this. I have another wine question.
Well, I was going to go on with some more wine tips.
Oh, because I wanted to ask you about the wine they served at the state dinner.
I'm on that page as we speak.
Okay.
So they had a Chardonnay and for one thing, they did have a Schramsberg Cremant, which is not a favorite of mine, a sort of a sweet wine for dessert, which came from California. But everything else, no. We're doing Oregon.
Yeah.
And I think that was a direct insult to because California has better wine than Oregon. No offense, Oregonians.
I'm sure it was a direct slam. It makes nothing but sense.
But at the same time, it wasn't a slouch selection. He had Domaine Serene Chardonnay Evanston Reserve 2015, which is probably needs another year or two of aging. It's I'll read it from the press release. A combination of French plants from Dijon and thrive in the volcanic Oregon soil and colder temperatures. The wine was aged 40% in French oak barrels for more than 12 months. This is a good Chardonnay. There are better Chardonnays on the West Coast than this.
Sure.
I would say that you could get one of the Woodward Canyon Chardonnays from Washington State, which tastes a lot like a French Burgundy, and that's what I would have gotten. But that's another. Then for the red,
yes,
they served Domaine Drouhin Pinot Noir Lorraine, which is a special small planting, 2014, which is not old enough. They could have gotten bottles of the 2008 or some of the other better vintages. I don't know why they didn't. The wine uses the model French Soul Oregon soil. Drouhin is a French owner.
Oh, and that makes it okay? Isn't it the grapes or the seed is from France and they plant it here?
The seed.
The seed.
You plant from cuttings, not seeds.
No wonder my champagne is no good.
Jeez.
My Andre 17 is my brand.
Andre's a good one to spray.
It doesn't spray out of the box. That's the problem.
Just swing the box around. Put a rope on the box.
Woo! Yeah, Saint-Tropez. Now,
there you go.
All right, there were other things going on with the visit. Macron, unless you need to speak more about the wine.
No, I was just going to say, this is not as bad as your Rui.
Yes, from the Dutch king.
From the Dutch king.
That was ultimately the question.
I consider this to be could have done better.
Okay,
let's put it that way. I wouldn't pass up the dinner.
No, I don't.
By the way, I think I can copy most of this meal.
Okay, I'll be right over.
Anyway, go on.
Yes, Macron did more than just eat and spend money and chat and drink. He also spoke in front of Congress. And I think that there's something big afoot coming down. First of all, why the hell is he even here? What's the deal? Why is he in America? I mean, just to hang out and talk about parades, or is there something else going on?
Well, he seems to be promoting the climate change thing more than anything.
No. What he is promoting is the next regime change. It's been on the list. I think we oversaw it. We've been a little blinded by Syria. Here is a part of his speech. It's in English. Just takes a second to get into it.
As for Iran, our objective is clear. Iran shall never possess any nuclear weapons.
Woo! Yeah! No nukes for Iran! Yeah! Listen. Oh, no nukes. Very good. We're happy. It's good.
Not now. Not in 5 years. Not in 10 years. Never.
Never! Woo! Okay, everybody. Go, Macron. Hit me again, bro.
But this policy should never lead us to war in the Middle East.
Oh, what? No, we want war.
We must ensure...
Did you hear that? It's like no one claps. No war. Oh, damn.
Yeah, the clapping dies way down.
That's exactly why I left those.
What a bunch of creeps running this country.
That's why I left those first two in. I took all the other ones out because they do that a lot. But it's all this, this long clap and wow, we're so happy. And then no more war.
This policy should never lead us to war in the Middle East.
Oh, damn it. And it dies off.
We must ensure stability.
They're warmongers, these people.
Good catch.
They just want war.
And respect sovereignty of the nations, including that one of Iran, which represents a great civilization. Let us not replicate past mistakes in the region. Let us not be naive on one side. Let us not create new wars ourselves on the other side. There is an existing framework.
Okay.
Called the JCPOA.
Known as the Iran deal.
Control the nuclear activity of Iran. We signed it at the initiative of the United States. We signed it, both the United States and France.
Aha! So both the United States and France signed the nuclear deal. I didn't even know France signed this deal. Did you?
Yeah, I think so. I think didn't the UK and Russia also sign it?
I'm not sure. But they're not in D.C. with a big fancy dinner. No, this guy is.
Well, they won't let him in.
We cannot say we should get rid of it like that.
Okay.
But it is true to say that this agreement may not address all concerns and very important concerns.
Okay. What are they?
This is true. But we should not abandon it without having something substantial and more substantial instead.
Aha, renegotiation.
We have to work on this more comprehensive deal based, as discussed with President Trump yesterday, on 4 pillars.
Okay, so as discussed with President Trump yesterday, 4 pillars. So this is our policy, and he's
we have 4 pillows, and what are they going to do?
Here it comes.
The substance of the existing agreement, especially if you decide to leave it. The post-2025 period, in order to be sure that we will never have any nuclear activity for Iran. The containment of the military influence of the Iranian regime in the region, and the monitoring of ballistic activity.
So I think it's point number 3 that is the one we need to look at. Containing this military threat, not necessarily to what's going on around Iran. Iran's pretty big, but what they're doing internally. And from what I understand, I've done quite a amount of research on this, and it really caught my eye when the Iranian government banned the use of cryptocurrency. And I, quite honestly, they were talking about doing their own a couple of months ago. So now, if you're Iranian, you're not allowed to get into cryptos. But their what's their money? What's the currency?
I don't know
called?
what it is, a dinar or something like that.
I think it's a dinar, or the ducat. The Iranian ducat.
I'll look it up.
Out of fear of this looming May 15th date, is crashing significantly. And from what I understand, and Mnuchin is doing a lot of talking, but he's not the one on the front, the front page with this. It's Macron and Trump. It looks like more sanctions. And the big fear is that we're going to go back to the SWIFT sanctions, which turns them off from the international, certainly the EU banking community. And this is very damaging because then they cannot sell any of their products. And it is my belief now.
The Rial. All right.
Is the Rial? That's what I thought it was. But although, wait, isn't the Rial for Saudi Arabia?
Iranian Rial.
Okay, Iranian Rial. It's my belief now that we're going to do, in 2009, Obama and Hillary Clinton tried the Green Revolution in Iran, and I think we're going to do a new one. And I think that is looming. And
well, they tried it. Wasn't the purple one theirs or something? They were bailed out. Said, no, let's not do anything.
No, it was the green one. It was the green one in 2009. Yeah, as far as I can recall. I think purple. Well, wait a minute. You may be right about that. There may have been another one, the purple one. Well, regardless, this probably won't be a color revolution, but I think
it has to be. Otherwise, you can't change your icons.
It'll always be green for Iran, and I'm pretty sure the Iranian people would be happy with it. So I think the pump is being primed. I went back and I listened to all these reports about Syria, and whenever they talk about Syria, it's always Iran. It's Syria and Iran, and I think that this time we're serious. We know it's on the West Clark 5 list. It's one of the big ones. And clearly, we want to renegotiate. This is the stance.
Well, it wasn't one of the big ones. It was the last one. It was finally Iran.
Yes, it's the last one. The way it's presented. Well, let's listen to Wes Clark. Let's let me see, because I think he kind of puts it in a. Where is
it's in its own category. It's the last one.
Yeah. Here we go. Here it is.
7 countries in 5 years. Starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
Yeah.
Finishing off.
So we're not finishing it off. No, we're finishing off Iran. That's what I just heard. It's a new context. Yeah. And we're going to finish off Iran.
Well, it's not unusual in the broadest sense of human history that Iran gets wiped out.
Yeah.
It's happened a number of times going back to Tamerlane.
Yeah.
The Iranians were always stubborn, the Persian nation. And I remember they got wiped out because this isn't the 10th century or something. I can't remember the year, but it was back a ways before I was born. And I think it was a couple of emissaries came in. They wanted to do some deals, and then they just shot them. So they came in and killed everybody.
Yeah. But at this point, I'm pretty sure the Iranian population is like, get these a-holes out of here. I mean, go back and look.
Yeah, that's what they want to do, but it's religious problem that they have is really not that easy to overcome.
But just, if you go Bing it and say pictures of Iran 1970s, even 80s,
that's when they were
girls got mini skirts. It's
they're using makeup. They look pretty.
Used to be that Farsi was the #1 language on the internet. Very connected country. All the kids got iPhones, or they had them. I'm not sure what the status is now. So I think they welcome that, and I think that is what is on deck. Now, I do have a clip here from the Iranian president, who's not so ready to jump on this plan.
Iranian President Hassan Rouhani has dismissed France's proposal to review an international deal on his country's nuclear program. French President Emmanuel Macron called for fresh negotiations on the pact on Tuesday during his visit to Washington.
If Europe wants to work with or talk to the United States, that is none of our business. They can go ahead. We will not remain in the deal, no matter what the circumstances are.
Rouhani insisted in a speech on Wednesday that the nuclear deal will either be maintained or not, apparently rejecting possible reviews of the agreement signed in 2015. U.S. President Donald Trump has suggested he may leave the deal. Macron's plan calls for reworking the accord to cover Iran's ballistic missile program and prevent the expansion of the country's influence in the Middle East.
And notice he misses that third point, which is, hey, we got the military inside the country. We got to deal with them. No mention of that in the report. Here's my theory, though.
Good catch.
No one. I don't think the M5M certainly isn't looking at Iran, other than just this big, vapid concept. I was looking, so I thought, wait a minute, if the currency is dropping significantly and, if you ban the use of cryptocurrencies, of course, everyone's going to go and get them some crypto. So I'm like, well, maybe this would be a good tip for our crypto trading friends to grab some before May 15th. Of course, May 15th may come and go without any change. But then I was just looking at the charts. And I saw that there was Bitcoin was up, and I guess it went down a bit today. But when Bitcoin goes up, almost all the cryptos go up in value, in exchange value. This latest run started on April 13th.
Okay.
What happened April 14th?
What?
We bombed Syria. I mean, there's a direct correlation.
They knew a day in advance that we're going to bomb Syria?
I'm pretty sure that the rhetoric itself was enough. But on the 13th, I think Trump came out and said a couple things on the 13th, and the next morning that we woke up the next morning was happening. So I think May 13th and 14th, take a good look if stuff is running up or not. It could get very interesting, and I don't think there's any stopping it. And and I don't know, maybe you can eventually buy and sell oil in some crypto fashion. I don't know. There's a lot going on with this.
I'll do it for the next show. I have a woman who's a gold bug that was on one of these podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And she was going on and on about some of the screwball coincidences with the cryptos. And I'll put a report together. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and I'm not sure it's
She's
a
almost
screwball.
of the opinion that the whole thing is set up by the banks.
Well, who was it? I have it here somewhere. Yes. The St. Louis Fed came out with a whole report. The St. Louis Federal Reserve Bank. There's a number of them that make up the Federal Reserve. And they have a report on the case for central bank electronic money and the non-case for central bank cryptocurrencies. And what they're saying, in fact, the quote is, "We welcome anonymous cryptocurrencies," but they say, a country should never issue that. It should never be a Federal Reserve. What they're looking at now is they would love to have, of course, a centrally organized digital currency. So, with NASDAQ CEO saying, "Oh, we're open to becoming a crypto trading platform when the market matures." There's some interesting moves being made, and the banks are not stupid. They realize that they're being cut out of a lot of transactions. I mean, again, I go back to the Netherlands where I walked down the one street in Rotterdam was phone store, where you're not really buying a phone. That's where you go and you send cryptos to Morocco or whatever country you want to send it to. This is going to be a big problem.
Going to be?
It is a big problem. I'm just not sure how it's going to be solved, but I think it's going to be love.
Oh, it gets solved.
It's going to be honey, It
gets solved. The banks win.
Sure. But how? How will they solve it? How will they do it?
Well, that's for us to determine on the No Agenda show.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, if money is still just a concept, it's just an idea. So if these cryptocurrencies are seen as money and people really start using it, and they live outside of the exchanging system, which is the problem with it, then the banks won't be able to do anything. Or the government. They can do it at the exchanges. That's where they have all the power they want. To make sure you pay your taxes over any gains, to make sure there's no illegal use. Who's changing this? I mean, your KYC have you ever heard of this KYC registration?
Oh God, no.
This pops up everywhere. So if you read some of these white papers, so when someone wants to start a crypto coin, they do an ICO, initial coin offering, and they have a white paper, which is, in my mind, the equivalence of an S1 filing for like a NASDAQ IPO. And in it, there's this thing, if people want to get in early, or they have white listing, all kinds of concepts I'm not very familiar with. But they all say you need KYC registration. And I'm like, what is KYC registration? I see it everywhere now. It stands for Know Your Customer.
What does that even mean?
I don't know, but somehow it's become this standardized thing in the crypto world that a KYC registration is you know your customer, and therefore you have seen some document that confirms their identity. But it sounds like a marketing term, know your customer.
Wow, this is very suspicious. These things are too fishy for my taste.
They're very fishy. Of course they are. But, of the a number of them that have been done, people have used it as an investment vehicle, to, instead of going, through the banking system, just say, okay, just buy some of our crypto coin, and it's not really shares, but it kind of looks like it. Here, have some of that. As long as you KYC.
KYC, man.
It's very strange. KYC. I don't know. So we'll see.
Well, KYC, in our case, involves podcasting. And so I finally watched Alex Inc.
Oh, I got to say something right off the bat about that. The guy is using a mic you're using today, a Heil PR40.
Yeah.
And, let's just forget. It just irritates me to no end that the guy is, first of all, he's recording everywhere. He's holding this mic in his hands.
Yeah,
and when he's talking over the top of it, which is not how this microphone actually will work.
Actually, now, in modern microphones that are that have the capsule to set up down the tube, none of them you talk over the top of.
Since you're using the exact same microphone used on Alex Inc., could you give us a demo of how that would sound?
Okay, well, here I am. In fact, I'll max out this thing because this thing does have a little proximity effect. This mic, I don't have the headphones on, but I know how to do it. For example, if you, I'm taking off the pop filter, and if you got a little close like this, it sounds like this right down the tube.
Oh, you never sounded better.
You can't sound any better than this.
Oh my God, you sound so hot.
So normally you do a 1 fist distance and you get back about this far and you're talking to this mic. Now, if you talk over the top, now you notice that even though I do have a cold, I've got a lot of mellifluous notes. It's kind of bassy. It's got a nice sound. Now I'm going to flip the mic so I'm talking over the top.
Yes. So now you're
By the way, yeah. This talking over the top thing goes back to some broadcasting school. I don't even know what mics they're talking about where you do this, but that's what they were doing. Watch a singer on. I'm not doing it yet.
No,
watch a singer.
Just get to it. Do the demo.
I just got these. I'm just trying. This thing's tight.
Yeah, but we still have the sexy JCD voice in our head. Now we want to hear the Alex Inc. version.
Hi there. I'm talking over the top of the PR40.
Oh, and it's plopping like nuts.
And it's popping for some unknown reason. I'll put the pop filter in front, so I'm not talking. Okay, now I'm talking through the pop filter over the top of the mic.
You sound
the
great.
Mic is below me. How do I sound?
You sound like shit.
I should sound like shit because you're not supposed to talk like this on this mic.
All right. Do you want to say anything about this show? Because I've stopped watching it.
Well, anyway, I was going to just mention that if you watch all those videos of singers with these high-end mics, they're talking into the side of it, that's because the capsule is sitting there. They're talking right at the capsule. That's what you do. You talk at the capsule. You don't talk over the top.
By the way, I liked you better without the plop filter.
Okay.
Take it off. Take it off.
You want me to talk like this?
Yeah, all day long.
The whole show is going to be like this.
All day long.
All right, so here is I have a clip, which I think was kind of indicative of the show itself. And by the way, the show reminds me, except it's not really about podcasting, it's about this family, especially this one little boy who dominates the show.
Yeah.
It's Mevio. They even have a Ron Bloom, and that guy's you. The guy talking over the top of the mic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go. That makes nothing but sense. Yeah. So they stole my life, is what you're saying.
They did, because the guy is the actor, the Italian actor that plays the other co-owner. He looks like and talks like Ron Bloom.
Yes, you're right.
It's like, what is this?
What? I don't see any clip for this. What are you talking about here?
I'm looking for it now. I just had it.
Finding a good podcast?
Yeah, now this is the kind of dialogue, the kind of thing we expect. This show sucks, by the way.
Yeah, it does.
Eddie just sent me a list of potential podcasts for our company to produce. There's over 200 submissions. Everyone wants to be our next big thing.
Anything good?
Some are okay. Some are horrible. None are right for us. The problem is that everyone and their mother thinks they have a good idea for a podcast.
You know, I actually have a great idea for a podcast.
Right? That's exactly what they all sound like.
No, I'm serious. Do you remember the Flannery murder?
Oh, God. This is happening?
I was fresh out of law school, clerking for that judge. The defendant got off, but the real killer was never found, and it's been haunting me ever since.
Babe, I know you're trying to help, but it's not that simple. It takes more than a kernel of an idea to make a great podcast. There's a certain alchemy, dare I say, magic to it. Did that sound pretentious?
Dare I say, yeah, it totally did.
Was it the hand gesture?
No, it was the whole thing.
Oh, the music is killing me.
As the podcast search continued, our options were looking bleak. They ranged from just okay to, well, this. It is a show about interspecies friendship.
So this actually shows me one thing. I'm wrong. I have been, and this, by the way, it's not My Life or Mevio. This is the Giblet Media and the guy who started, what Serial was their first show. That's what this story is about. Surely you knew that when you watched it. No.
I'm thinking Mevio.
No, it's not. What was I going to say? Ow.
You said you were wrong about something.
Yes, what I was wrong about is what this show proves, although it won't last, is that you can monetize the network as long as you make a show about it. I mean, if the actual network can't be monetized, but if you make a show, yeah, it can be.
Now a couple of things I found funny.
Yeah,
it's like they show this guy. It's like they have a little meeting, and then some people come in with cards, and they pitch shows.
Yeah.
Why? What does this ever have? So they come. This bull crap. The whole thing is nuts. It's not the way it works.
No, we know exactly how it works.
Yeah, and that ain't it. But talking over the mic thing is pretty funny.
Well, this is how it really works. Hold on.
Entering executive mode.
All right. Yeah, she wasn't very hot, so we don't want her show, do we?
Nah.
Actually, I wanted to be in executive mode for a moment.
Okay, go.
This is something that went on the tweeter. You commented on it, and I think I even said we should go enter executive mode. And it was something you tweeted, and you said, why do the libjos need to do video? Why don't they just stick to good reporting? And there's because this Washington Post has a little video show every Thursday. Yep.
And it is the worst.
Well, I got the opening segment of the show, and this is Molly Roberts, one of their star reporters. Now, since we're in executive...
she's a Trump hitman.
Yes. Since we're in executive mode, she really has no business being on video.
No.
I mean, she's got the perfect face for print, and I'm saying this as an executive, not being mean or misogynistic.
No, she's actually slightly... the problem with video, and just to be honest about it, and people kind of know this, but they don't want to talk about it, is that you have to be pleasant looking.
It helps.
Because you're going to be watching somebody talk, and if they got idiosyncrasies and they scrunch up their face and they wear no makeup and they spit, I mean, you can't put up with it. You won't watch the show. So you have to avoid people like that. And you have to put pleasant looking people that know how to read, and they can read it from a prompter so it sounds natural. That's what you want because you're looking at them.
Now we're going to listen, and this will help us evaluate the technical quality. And I don't understand why a publication such as the Washington Post lowers their standards to such a degree. Or maybe they just don't see it, or maybe they don't care. It's a throwaway.
I have thoughts on this. If you want to hear them later.
Yeah, I do. Here's the opening, and let's just listen to the handoffs, to her read, to the other people. It's a complete shit show.
President Trump threatens to bomb.
This is how it opens, by the way. There's no opening title, no bombastic music. Just start.
President Trump threatens to bomb Syria, downgrades relations with Russia, and lashes out after an FBI raid on his personal lawyer's office. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg tap dances through congressional hearings. House Speaker Paul Ryan calls it quits. And it's only Thursday.
Now, so this is the tease, and I'm not teased at all. And then she says, it's only Thursday. What does that even mean? If she said it's only Monday, maybe Tuesday?
No, that's the name of the show.
You're kidding me.
No.
Oh, jeez. It's called It's Only Thursday?
Yes.
This whole concept is wrong.
Oh, duh.
I'm Molly Roberts, with Fred Hyatt, editor of the Washington Post editorial page, and opinion columnists Christine Emba and Dana Milbank. Folks watching on Facebook and YouTube.
Folks!
If your comments and questions make us think, we'll try to get them on the show. Dana, you were on Capitol Hill for the Facebook hearings, and you tweeted out this photo of Zuckerberg sitting on what appears to be a booster seat?
Booster seat?
Well,
yeah, can you stand up now?
It shows that we're in the internet era because, when I was his age, we would have
nice mic sound, perfect.
Sound phone books. So this was a wee bit different.
I want more details on that and everything else later, but first let's focus on what distracted President Trump this week.
Why later?
It's just because it's another tease. It's a tease after the tease. It's the whole thing is just
by the way,
horrible.
Nothing galls me more than that. We'll talk about that later because they never get around to it.
Rarely.
In the midst of major national security issues, the FBI raid of the office of Trump's so-called fix-it man, Michael Cohen. He's the lawyer who paid hush money to Stormy Daniels.
Is that okay to editorialize like that and say it's hush money?
Well, she said hush money. She also said so-called fix-it man.
Well, you can say so-called.
Which, by the way, would be the right term would be fixer.
Yes.
There's a fix-it man. What's he going to come and do the plumbing?
Yeah.
Check the toilet, jiggle the handle?
Yeah, that's the idea. That is definitely the idea.
And on Monday, the FBI made the unusual move of seizing documents from his New York City office. Trump says, as he said before, that it's all a witch hunt.
Anyway, so it's horrible. I just don't understand why they do it. I really don't. I
have my thoughts on this.
Okay, I'd love to hear it.
Well, for one thing, the New York Times has done this, and so other newspapers feel that they need to do it. Everybody feels because somebody else has done it, they feel that they need to do it.
Yeah,
and so it becomes like, oh, we have to do this because everyone else is doing it.
And it's an incredible waste of money.
Oh, it's a big waste of money and time. And it's an embarrassment.
Yes.
Even the ones who started. I mean, New York Times has that little podcast, which at least is audio, but it's not very good. And then it's just they all do it because they all feel that they all feel obliged to do it because the other guys are doing it. That's the only real reason.
Yeah.
And so then they ask for volunteers. Who wants to do a podcast?
Yeah. No one's getting paid extra, and this is where it will eventually break down.
Nobody's getting paid extra. This is true. And everyone wants to do, I'll do it. I want to do it. I can do it. I've done. I used to do
college radio.
No, they don't even do that. I used to do in high school. I used to be in the drama club, so I think I can do it. It's pathetic, but okay. If they want to do it, let them do it. I mean, I would be happier if they had information that we could use on the show, but no.
Yeah. Let me just exit this for a second.
Executive mode has expired. Please make your way to the exits.
Okay. Get out of executive mode here. I did have a fun little M5M total bullcrap clip. Tell me if you can catch it.
Juarez allegedly whipped out a handgun, shooting 2 police officers and an employee before taking off in that truck. This incident almost 2 years to the day for the July 7th ambush, which killed 5 Dallas police officers.
Now, mind you, this was April 25th.
Okay. Was it not 2 years to the day?
Juarez allegedly whipped out a handgun, shooting 2 police officers and an employee before taking off in that truck. This incident almost 2 years to the day for the July 7th ambush, which killed 5 Dallas police officers.
April to July? Almost 2 years?
It's July.
Almost 2 years to the day? What is that?
Wow.
Who wrote that?
Talking about shoehorning your stories.
Yeah. Oh, I did. Since you did a TV review, I'll give you one. I'm surprised I'm saying this because I'm not a Star Wars, Star Trek, sci-fi kind of guy at all, but
You aren't.
I binged watched the reboot of Lost in Space, and I loved it.
Oh, God.
It was fantastic. I grew up with Lost in Space, so that helps. But, the robot, how that came to be and what the robot is. Dr. Smith is a woman, Posey Parker.
Posey Parker plays the evil doctor?
Yes. And Molly
Parker. Yeah, she plays a good evil character.
Yeah, very good. And Molly Parker is the mom of the family. She was the chief of staff on West Wing. Great actress. And it's not too hokey. They put a lot of money into this.
No, I saw the trailer and I said, wow, there's a lot of effort, a lot of money.
Yes.
In the CGI. It was really out of control.
It's well done. It's very well done. Yeah, I'm surprised.
Another thing I don't want to watch.
All right. Let's see. Maybe we should.
Well, first of all, let's do a couple things. Since you're talking about bogus stories,
yeah,
let's play the bogus chocolate study, which is all over the news. Every mainstream media outlet had this chocolate story.
Thank you, Michael.
Sure.
All right. 2 new studies. 2 are touting the benefits of dark chocolate, as if we needed more evidence. The findings show that eating dark chocolate with a high concentration of cacao has positive effects on stress, mood, memory, and warding off diseases. Research funded by Loma Linda University in San Bernardino County found that 5 people who ate 48 grams of 70% cacao all had increases in brainwave activity. Dark chocolate is also rich in antioxidants. It has anti-inflammatory benefits. A reminder, though, it is high in sugar and calories.
Wow. Is the Chocolate Association of America out with a new native ad campaign?
I don't know, but everyone's carrying this thing. But the thing about it makes it so stupid was the study is on 5 people. It says it right in there. They slipped it in somehow, and I didn't notice it right away.
Wait, they say this in the piece?
Yeah.
Oh, let me hear again.
Thank you, Michael.
Sure.
All right. 2 new studies. 2 are touting the benefits of dark chocolate, as if we needed more evidence. The findings show that eating dark chocolate with a high concentration of cacao has positive effects on stress, mood, memory, and warding off diseases. Research funded by Loma Linda University in San Bernardino County found that 5 people who ate 48 grams.
Wow. Good catch. It's crazy how I didn't even hear it. Because that's something I should have said. Hold on a second. N equals 5. That's not a great.
I didn't hear it until I taped it and then listened to it just audio, and I heard the 5. I said, "What? What? This isn't even. This is ridiculous."
Right. And you say that this same story is everywhere about the same 5 people?
That was a local story. I think most local news outlets had it, and then they had it on ABC. I know for a fact, ABC National News. And I'm just guessing it was everywhere.
Well, then it must be a native ad. It must be.
Well,
it must
either that or
it must be.
They dropped off a case of chocolate.
Yeah, I don't know if that's enough.
For these guys?
Yeah, it could be. It could be.
I'd do it.
Now, I got a lot of stuff on Facebag Analytica. I think the Toronto thing is interesting, but maybe just before we get to our first break, we pick up on a story that we talked about on the No Agenda show, I'm going to say more than a year ago.
By 2020, China plans to give all of its 1.4 billion citizens a personal score based on how they behave. So some people with low scores are already being punished if they want to travel. Nearly 11 million Chinese people can no longer fly, and 4 million are barred from trains. Next week, the program will start expanding nationwide. Ben Tracy is in China with what's behind the government scoring system. Ben, this sounds like scary stuff. Good morning.
Good morning. The government here says it is trying to purify society by rewarding those who are trustworthy and punishing those who are not. So like the credit score that most Americans get for how they handle their finances, Chinese citizens are now getting social credit scores based on everything from whether they pay their taxes on time to how they cross the street.
I love the Purify Society translation. That's great. Purify Society. And we're not far from that.
Same thing.
Well, we're just doing it for your financial, the financial part of your life now, but
Yeah, but that's falling over into all kinds of other things. Just check your FICO score if you're going to try to be a student at some college.
Yep, FICO, not FICA, FICO.
Yeah, I always say FICA.
That's wrong.
I don't know why. I'd like to know why I say FICA.
Because FICA is that tax that you pay forever until you reach a certain level. It's a part of your wage tax. Yeah, it's like federal insurance going to rip you off thing.
Oh.
So that's why that probably irritates you more.
Federal insurance can't add. That's what it is.
Right.
But I always say FICA. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So
whatever. The FICO thing, which we bitched about this before, is just ridiculous.
Right. But when you combine it with other things, and I think I'll have some examples of that later on, it becomes, we've all seen the Black Mirror episode. How come that hasn't just happened already? Why hasn't Facebag just said, rate your friends? I mean, what would it take for them to do that? It wouldn't take much.
Coming.
Yeah. But will it be them?
I think everyone wants to do it. Don't you think people want to do that?
I totally think they want to do it. And wait until you hear this VP of Global Policy Management at Facebag, Monica Bickert. You got a whole idea of how they think over there. And mainly, of course, is that we can't do without them. Our life can't. Here's an example. This is CNBC, not talking about Facebag, but that other giant who is next. We know that Google's going to be next for their practices.
Well, let's hope so.
If not, then we have a different issue. Listen to how this report starts off.
There wasn't a lot of surprises, Melissa.
This is about, I guess it was earnings yesterday, and Facebag gave their earnings, which are spectacular. Google gave their earnings, also spectacular.
There wasn't a lot of surprises, Melissa, but I just want to put something in perspective. Is the world cannot live without Google. We can live without Facebook, but Google is part of the fabric, the oxygen of the internet. And as evidence of that, look at the top line growth, 23%, the same time.
I mean, if that's really the thinking, and I'm sure it is,
I'm sure it is.
It's completely disturbing. We can't live without Google.
We can't easily live without Google.
Yeah.
Bing, by the way, does work. You don't need Google necessarily. The one you can't live without, and I've written about this too, is Amazon.
Yeah, they're problematic.
Because of AWS.
Yeah.
Amazon
I
is
agree.
snuck into the fabric of society in a very, very cool way that just makes them impossible to get rid of.
Yeah. Well,
and then they have their lobbying company, which is the Washington Post.
But hold on a second, John, let's be honest. If Amazon disappeared tomorrow, what a joyous day that would be. I mean, think of all the bull crap companies that would just all of a sudden have no website.
The economy would collapse in a minute.
Again, think of how much fun we'd have. Oh, what a joyous day that would be.
It's about time.
And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say, in the morning to you, John C. C stands for Chocolate of Bogativity, Dvorak.
In the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. In the morning, all ships at sea, boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, all the days and nights out there.
Yes. In the morning to the troll room, I should say. You can find that all the activity at noagendastream.com. Trolls in there. They're all having a good time. I also want to say in the morning to Mark G. He brought us the artwork for episode 1027, titled That Was Folding Preschool, which I've now been alerted we misheard the clip, even though that was the fault of the presenter. It is full-time preschool.
No, that's bull crap.
I knew you'd say that.
I have listened to it over and again, and I know what it is.
Okay, what is it?
Holding? Yes, holding. Go back to the clip. You still have it.
Let me see.
What was that one? Somebody sent that. There's no evidence. There's nothing. There's none of those sounds in there.
Folding. I can't find it for some reason. Was it titled Folding?
Might have been.
Okay.
Folding.
Well, anyway, beside that, the artwork was very nice. It had a bunch of bombs dropping. We weren't quite sure what it meant, but one was glitch, one had marijuana on the side, one had snafu, one had funny. IRS. It was just kind of funny. Like, okay, we'll take this. It's good. And it was
well done.
Yeah, we thank you very much, Mark G. Mark G, good to have you back. He's done a lot of artwork for us in the past. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com is where you can upload your art. That is what lots of artists do, and we appreciate the work they do, because it's tough when you don't get chosen. I understand, but we that's the one thing we debate about on a showly basis. We don't debate about much else, but that we debate about.
Well, the title is also sometimes arguable.
What we never argue about is our executive producers and our associate executive producers, who we give a special thank you at the beginning of the show, just like Hollywood, and these are real credits. Who do we have, John?
Starting off with Sir Woody, and he's in Great Britain, $333.33 to be executive producer. It only seems like It only seems like yesterday that you knighted me on show 772, but I'm ashamed to say I've hardly listened since.
Ooh.
Man overboard.
Yeah, for real.
So it's given a pretty crazy few years. A producer I've hit in the mouth a few years ago does the same to me every time I see him. And on discovering my car now has Now discovering my car has great podcast support. Ooh.
That helps.
This is the future for the show, by the way.
It is.
And my commute perfectly fits the show schedule. I'm now back.
I'd like to know what that means. Tell me what you think is great podcast support in your vehicle. I'd really like to know.
Yeah, it's got to be more than just a USB plug.
No, I'm sure it's Bluetooth. And for instance, in my truck, I can connect the Bluetooth, but it doesn't pass on the album art or the title. It just gives like the file name. It's really lame. Do. Yeah, some do. Mine doesn't.
What brand?
Ford.
Mm-hmm. Bastards.
I know. That's un-American, Ford.
I'm now back. The last 3 shows have been outstanding, and it's clear you Muppets have got the hang of this while I've been away. Keep up the tireless and appreciated work. No jingles, no karma.
Well, thank you very much, Sir Woody, and welcome back, mofo.
And following Woody is Kelly Sandlin, $300 from the U.S. somewhere, and all he or she says, it's a she, I'm sure, with an I.
With an I, you'd think so.
Isn't and no jingles, no karma.
Okay. Well,
there you go.
Thank you very
Random
much.
Number.
Yes.
It doesn't last long. Sir Kelly Spongberg in Rocky Mountain House, Alberta, Canada, $300, another $300. Happy birthday, karma, for Dame Andrea Spongberg. I think she's on the list.
She sure is.
Vacation karma for Sir Dallas Spongberg, and it mentions great newsletter. It was a great newsletter.
It was a great newsletter. The newsletters are always great. And subscribe to those. Go to noagendashow.com. The link is right there on the homepage.
You've got karma.
Thank you, Sir Kelly Spongberg. We'll be congratulating Dame Andrea later on.
And then last but not least is Timothy Cato, is an associate executive producer at $200. And again, don't have the location, but using cutesy animals to solicit donations is just low effective, as evidenced by this donation, but low. Now, this is interesting. He says he's obviously fairly new to the show.
Yeah, I think so.
Because as you recall, I was using
6-7 years ago.
Yeah, but I was using him, newsletter after newsletter after newsletter. It was terrible.
Yeah.
And so now I just drop one little kitten in, and this guy gets bent out of shape.
Well, I think the problem is you brought the puppy back, and the puppy is kind of irresistible. You know, when you see the puppy.
That dog is a symbol that we are not doing well.
And yes, and yeah, that's true. And the puppy was there for months and months and months.
Yeah, well, he's back.
This is, it's actually John. I do the production. John handles all the back office stuff and has his minions. So I never really look at this stuff. And when I see the dog, I'm like, oh, things are not going too well.
That one particular dog.
Yeah. Yes. The sad puppy.
The sad puppy.
Yeah.
Dvorak, but in all seriousness, keep up the good work, and I have a Raven report to the stage and some goat karma.
Straight from Reseda, here she is, Raven. Give it up.
You've got karma.
Thy will be done.
Yeah, Raven's from Reseda.
Mm-hmm.
That is it. That's all we got for our associate and executive producers for today's show, 1028. Hopefully we'll pick it up a little bit the next show. It was a little low, a little light.
Well, April's been a tough month.
I think still tax month.
I think so. But I don't see anyone who says I got a return.
Not yet.
Just looking at the spreadsheet. Well, we, of course, want to thank our executive producers and associate executive. Is it one producer? Yes. And
one associate.
And our one associate executive producer. Real credits, they can be used anywhere the credits are recognized. Lots of people put it on LinkedIn. It seems to get them jobs, and lots of people looking at what's going on. We'll be thanking more people in our second segment, $50 and above, and we have another show on Sunday. Please remember us at
Dvorak.org/NA.
Plenty of formula for you to go out there and propagate. You know the system.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
All right. Lots of show then today.
Yes.
Yeah. I've been gonna do some face bag stuff.
Oh yeah, let's do face bag.
So there's I have two interviews. One is, maybe we'll start with this. Monica Bickert. She is the VP of Global Policy Management at the Face Bag. What's interesting about her is that for 10 years she worked in Malaysia at the State Department. And I think she did things like, looking at smuggling, also human trafficking. But 10 years in Malaysia at the embassy, you may be a spook.
Yeah.
You may be a spook.
By the way, Malaysia is a party town.
Hey, woo! So now she's the Vice President of Global Policy Management, and she sat down for an interview. I think it was a podcast, actually, but I thought it was just interesting to listen to a few of the things that she had on her mind. Because now, you probably noticed, it was interesting to me to see a lot of No Agenda producers who didn't understand why yesterday and the day before yesterday, all the wonderful services they use online, such as Facebag, Twitter, you name it, had a new disclaimer or they something pop up about their terms and services. We've changed. Well, that's because the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulations in the EU's came into effect yesterday. So that's why they were doing that. And now Facebag, apparently, I haven't seen it yet, if it, at least it hasn't surfaced in my version yet, has posted an explanation of their terms of services. So not just saying, here's the parameters. No, here's exactly what we mean.
These are our community standards, which basically tell people, if you're coming to Facebook, here's what you can post, and here's what you cannot post. Here's what we will remove if we become aware of it. And I want to be clear that the policies themselves are not changing today. The way we enforce them is not changing today. What is changing is that we're finally making public all of the guidance that we give our content reviewers when they enforce these policies. So just to sort of give an example, we have for many years had public-facing policies that say, don't harass somebody, don't post threats of violence. Now, when you go to our standards online, you'll be able to see what do we mean when we say harassment or when we say threats of violence, and how do our reviewers actually enforce these policies.
Mm-hmm. So basically you're defining something that has been on the back end for how long?
Years. So I was at the U.S. Justice Department for about a decade before I came to Facebook.
Oh yeah, she was she's from the Justice Department in the embassy. Okay.
When I came to Facebook, that was about 6.5 years ago. We were just starting to put in place more detailed guidance for our reviewers. And they've used that guidance over the past 5 or 6 years, and we've continued to add to it. And one of the reasons is because we're always seeing new trends, new types of abusive behavior, and we want to make sure that we're providing guidance on it. So every 2 weeks.
How many types of abusive behavior are there? If there's new trends, what's the new trend in abusive? John, what's the latest in abusive behavior?
You got me.
I mean, that's kind of...
I don't use Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Weeks, we have a conversation with people inside the company.
Wait. Did she say... Hold on, let me just go back here.
Of abusive behavior, and we want to make sure that we're providing guidance on it. So every 2 weeks, we have a conversation with people inside the company and outside the company to talk about ways that we need to refine these standards.
If you're bored, if you're bored, just say it. Don't be making noise.
I'm not making any noise.
You're making noise.
No.
I apologize. Where did that come from?
I have no idea.
Well, whoever's making that noise, stop doing it. It's annoying. All right, so every 2 weeks, they have to sit down and review the latest trends in abusive behavior. It comes down to a term, though.
Part of this doesn't make sense.
What doesn't make sense?
Every 2 weeks, abusive behavior, the style of it changes?
Oh, I also don't... I think she's full of crap, but that's why we're going through this.
Full of crap.
Part of this,
I
think, is very difficult for you because of the degree to which so many of these things can be ascribed to something that is referred to in your own.
I mean, what we're really hearing here is someone trying to describe what speech is acceptable and what speech is not acceptable. That's the bottom line here. And what she does has no bearing on our First Amendment rights in the Gitmo Nation. But it is interesting just to get into the mind of the globalist thinking.
Documents as emotional injury.
There you go. Emotional injury. That's what we're talking about here.
How do you define an emotional injury? What does that look like? Because there are lots of people who could raise their hand and basically say, this argument that I disagree with constitutes an emotional injury.
Absolutely. And we want to make sure that we are not taking down speech simply because some people find it upsetting. In fact, we say in our standards, you may find speech on Facebook that makes you feel uncomfortable or that makes you upset. From our point of view, that is okay, so long as we give people the tools they need to not follow that person. They can block that person or they can unfollow that page. We want to create a space for speech, even if it's controversial. Where we draw the line
Why does she
is
talk
where
so
we
fast?
see...
Well, if you listen to her cadence, she's talking like Zucky. Listen to it. She talks, she'll get into tools and stuff. You'll hear it.
Actual safety implications or where there are legal consequences to leaving the speech up on site. I'll tell you, this is something I've wanted to do for years, and the biggest reason I've wanted to do it is because I do so much external engagement, like the conversation that we're having right now.
And I know, like the conversation we're having right now. This is Zucky. She's talking like the Zucky.
Yeah, I think you might be right. It's like so. Sometimes it speeds up to such an extreme. It's like the little bit I did at the beginning.
Yeah.
That is extremely weird.
She may be on Adderall or something. That's possible. But she's also
no. If she's a spook, which is what you implied
right.
earlier,
Then she can't. No, then she's not on Adderall. Then she might be drunk. Spooks drink. They don't do drugs. But yeah.
And the biggest reason I've wanted to do it is because I do so much external engagement, like the conversation that we're having right now.
She's all jitty about it. Like external engagement. You mean PR?
And when I do that, I hear from people, why don't you make these standards public? Like people will ask me, you say you don't allow hate speech. What is that? And I'll say, well, here's how we think about that. And then they'll say, well, why don't you just say that? So that I think has been behind us doing this. And we've been working on this now for the better part of a year.
So better part of a year. Oh, so gee.
Wait a minute. I thought she's been doing it for 10 years.
6 years.
Whatever.
No, so that's bullcrap. But we also now know that it's 7,500 people, has nothing to do with algos. It is just human beings who are doing this.
Is this something where you have an actual employee making a determination about a piece of content and whether it's okay or not? Or is this something that is, essentially operating on an algorithm or something along those lines?
No, this is people. So we have a team called our community operations team.
Community ops cops.
Now, hold on. First of all, this is a complete opposite of. Where'd you get this?
From a podcast.
This is completely opposite of what they had on the PBS NewsHour, where they did the same thing. I don't know why, but this is in all the news. The podcast, it's on national news, it's on PBS. So they had visited the Facebook operation. The big one in Menlo Park is like 2 miles long. It's a big building, and they said that they couldn't do what she's describing, so they had to move to algos.
Huh. You don't have a clip
and
by
it was
any
a
chance,
Facebook spokesperson.
Do you have a clip by any chance?
No, it was boring.
Right. Well,
I'm just telling you.
Okay.
Take my word for it.
I take your word for it. Well, it's bullcrap.
I do have a clip that follows it up because it turns out that PBS is going to develop algos too.
Yeah, we'll get to that. One step at a time.
Essentially operating on an algorithm or something along those lines.
No, this is people. So we have a team called our community operations team. They are at this point.
Do you hear that? Community operations, community ops, cops. Get it?
I get it. It's cute.
This is people. So we have a team called our community operations team. They are at this point more than 7,500 people.
Community operations team is COTS, as in beds.
Around the world. They are the people who are enforcing these standards. And potential content violations come to them in one of two ways. Either somebody on Facebook has reported it through the site, and you can report any piece of content through the site, a photo, a post, a group, a page. It'll come into our content reviewers. Then we also use some technical tools to try to identify violations even before anybody in our community has told us about it. So, for instance, terror propaganda, ISIS beheading videos. We now.
Did she say what?
She said told us about it.
Let me hear again.
By violations even before anybody in our community has told us about it. So, for instance,
Well, so for instance, but if you listen, here's her for instance.
Terror propaganda, ISIS beheading videos. Mm-hmm. We now have some technical tools that are pretty good at finding that content and getting that to our content reviewers quickly.
That's all they have so far, is they're able to find beheading videos, which aren't even online anymore. No,
they can find a lot more. Let me interject just for a second. when I was at the meetup in Biloxi, one of our producers had reposted the picture I put in the newsletter, which I forgot I even put in the newsletter, 2 or 3 newsletters ago, of Trump having sex with Stormy Daniels.
Yeah.
Of course, it was photoshopped, and I didn't, it was a quickie job. I have a limit on my Photoshop time.
You actually did that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
And most of the time I spent blending and making sure that the tones are the same.
It was a horrible Photoshop job.
Yes,
but it was funny.
But it was fun. 15 minutes max. That's my limit.
It was
because I don't want to make, and I couldn't get it to look any better.
No.
So yeah, it was a horrible photo. It looked like Photoshop, but it was funny. And then I also blacked out. I didn't black out, but I fuzzed out all the parts that would be obscene.
Yes.
And so it was a legit Photoshop, junk Photoshop picture. And so he posted on his Facebook. He got kicked off Facebook for 24 hours.
Well, and that's very interesting because she is going to get into exactly who. So, from what I understand in this next clip, kind of I think unpacks it. Is if you say, "Well, I don't like Republicans," that's okay. If you say I hate Republicans. All Republicans should be dead, that's okay. That's what she's going to claim. But if you say, I want this Republican to be dead, or if you take it to any personal one individual, then it's not okay. But there's always classes that are protected and unprotected in our world. Wait until you hear.
We do treat public officials and public figures differently than we treat private individuals. So
of course, this journo didn't ask what constitutes a public official or a celebrity. I mean, how many views do you need to have before you're a public person? Isn't everybody on FaceBag, by definition, a public person?
That's what I'd say.
If, I'm a public figure because I do so much engagement for Facebook. And
engagement. No.
Never heard of you.
I'm sick and tired of this public engagement. You're shilling is what that calls.
Because of my role. So if people want to say that these community standards are terrible and that I'm to blame, they can say that on Facebook and they can criticize me all they want. Versus if somebody was saying that about their high school classmate or insulting somebody, a personal friend, then that's something that we might consider bullying and take down. And you can see how we define those things internally. When it comes to violent speech, we will remove threats against anybody, even if it's public figures. And in fact, as we're trying to assess the credibility of threats, because people do sometimes use threats in a joking way. If you come late to my party again, I'm going to kill you. Well, we don't want to remove that if it's just a joke. We do want to remove speech that we think might legitimately cause harm to somebody.
Now, this is very interesting because how do you know it's a joke? I mean, how do you have the context to understand what a joke is, which I'm sure an algo definitely can't figure out. So, it's like, was Kathy Griffin there for a joke or was it not a joke? She intended it as a joke. She said it was a joke. Yet you said, well, we treat her differently. It's impossible to do.
You could send like threatening notes and whatever you do, just at the very end of everything, put I kid.
JK.
So for journalists, and you'll see this in our standards, we see so many safety threats to journalists that we actually assume credibility, unless it's very clear that something is.
So if you're a journalist and someone says, like, I'm going to kill you, and they say even JK, they're probably going to block that comment. Unless they're somehow really sure it's a joke.
That we actually assume credibility. Unless it's very clear that something is a joke and not serious, we assume that any threatening language against a journalist is credible and we remove it. I will say that we audit those reviewers for quality every week. Every week, each reviewer and each area of policy is subject to a quality audit where we re-review a subset of the content that they reviewed to make sure.
Stop.
I knew you'd all that.
I have to ask you something. How many did they have? 75,000?
7,500.
Okay, they got 75, which is a big number. So they have 7,500 that they review every week.
Yeah.
Who reviews them? It takes 7,500 people to review the 7,500.
Well, what she's saying is that we review people in the subset of the under re-review. So it's I'm sure it's bullshit.
Those reviewers for quality every week. Every week, each reviewer and each area of policy is subject to a quality audit where we re-review a subset of the content that they've reviewed to make sure they're getting the decisions right. But we know that we're still going to have mistakes, and not every piece of content.
Hold on a second. Right about now, it would be ideal if it was kind of like a Woody Allen movie, and two guys in white coats would come running in with a big butterfly net and start chasing her around. She sounds like she's nuts.
Well, now she goes into full Zucky mode in this last 15 seconds.
The content that they've reviewed to make sure they're getting the decisions right. But we know that we're still going to have mistakes, and not every piece of content is going to be in that subset that we review. And that's why today we're actually announcing that we will allow people to appeal decisions that we've made about individual pieces of content. So now, if we remove your post and you think we got it wrong, you can tell us, and we'll have somebody else look at it.
This will be the downfall of this whole idea, lady. Google has that one right. You're gone, no discussion. They're going to allow people to appeal. You're inviting people to ban you. You're inviting it now.
Yes, you're inviting trouble. You're right. Google's got it right. You don't have time for this crap.
No, because it's not just one appeal. It's going to go back and forth. People are going to get pissed off at your answer to the appeal. Everyone's going to pile jump. Well, look, his appeal is good. And it's going to go on and on and on. And it's not going to be pretty. Amazing, though. They had 45% increase in profit. These guys are fantastic. Just making bank.
I should mention this. The news media, they could do worse than going after these guys.
They've got to.
They have to, because their business is at
being
stake.
Sucked up. Well, we'll get to that in a moment with the CBS 60 Minutes. But one last important question that the LibJo was so embarrassed to ask. He even had to say, well, if I don't ask, my friends will kill me.
I have to ask you this just because it's something that my friends will get mad at me if I don't, which is there was a whole episode of Reply All, the podcast, a couple of months back, trying desperately to convince people that Facebook does not listen to you through your microphone on your phone. Can you just answer that question for me?
Yeah, we're not listening to you and your microphone through your phone.
It's just that your algorithm is that good to know that you needed that Velveeta shells and cheese. It's not that we were listening to you talk about it.
There are ways. Anytime that you see an ad on Facebook, you can click on it and you'll see something that says, "Why am I seeing this ad?"
Yes.
And that will give you some more information. But no, we're not listening to you through your microphone. To all of Ben's friends.
Yes. Monica Bickert is the head of policy management.
Yeah. And my next bit here, for what she said, I'm sure that's truthful, but I've been looking into this for a while. I've been trying to figure out how this mystical connection keeps getting made between something people are saying or what has been discussed, and then all of a sudden ads show up.
Yeah, I want to stop you for a second. For listeners out there who didn't hear the last show, and I'm cognizant of this, and Adam is semi-cognizant of what he said, but it's affecting him.
What did I say?
Which is that his experience with the little box where he says, call Tina, and you may want to explain this again, somehow managed to call Tina even though there's no real information for him.
Yes,
for this box
you're talking about the talking tube, the Echo, and I saw this come in as a new feature, and I just asked her to call Tina, and immediately she said calling Tina, and the phone was ringing. And so now the talking tube was functioning as a speakerphone, and it knew which Tina to call. And
with no
change.
Input.
No, didn't ask me which Tina. Of course, I've shipped to her to her at a different address in the past.
It was presumptuous.
Remember what I shipped you, baby? Yeah, it was very presumptuous, but it worked.
Yes, and that has I don't know that you're cognizant of this, but I know for a fact that this has affected your mentality negatively.
Yes. Well, no, look, I mean, listen, hear me now, believe me later. I'm OTG. We're going to talk about my latest experiences. But first, let's get back to this, because there is something called ultrasonic cross-device tracking, which is very interesting. It comes from a technology that I was actually looking into years ago when I first got into ham radio. I don't remember if we talked about it on the show. I said, wouldn't it be cool if you could take Morse code and you could make that ultrasonic, 18, 19 kilohertz range, and kids could have little networks inside the classroom without actually being connected to a network because the microphone would just pick up this sonic sound. And I experimented with it, and some ham guy I knew, put some stuff together. But fast forward a few years, the company is called Listener. Of course, you spell it LISNR. And here's their promo video.
Listener is a communication protocol, not unlike Bluetooth. It's essentially an entirely new way to connect devices by simply using sound. Something we've been loosely referring to as a speaker net or the Internet of Sound. So our technology that we build they're called smart tones. It's a sonic sound that is inaudible to the human ear and to dogs. However, it can be picked up by a mobile phone. Tones can be embedded in any audio file, a song, a commercial, played through a stadium, in your car. When those tones are played, it can connect to a device, send you a notification, open a second screen experience, or even deliver you proximity-based marketing messages. One of the things about Listener that makes us so special, I don't need a battery. I don't need a wireless connection. I don't need a cell signal. Sound can go around all of that. So when people are spending millions and millions of dollars outfitting their stores with hardware that you have to replace batteries regularly, we do all of that with no infrastructure, no wireless, no batteries, no cellular signal. It's all through the sound. And the good news about Listener is that we're built into other people's apps. Our goal is to be here. We want a Listener button. Pretty soon, we're going to be manufactured into devices as part of the hardware. So one of the things that's been really interesting about Listener's trajectory is that it's been fast. We just closed our Series B that was actually led by Intel. So Intel Capital, largest, most successful corporate VC in the world. That's a huge stamp for us. People click on our stuff because it's delivering you an experience that's additive, not distractive or not annoying. And that's a really powerful thing for brands that are in an environment like trying to serve up ads on Google or Gmail or Facebook or LinkedIn. There's so much noise that, frankly, it's easy to stand out when we're doing something that's designed specifically to make that experience better.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you about a couple applications of this technology. The first one I like a lot, which is a lot of sports teams are their clients, and the sports teams will let you download an app. It's done at concerts, but I've seen it done at sporting events. And they'll say, okay, everybody open up the app and hold up your phone, and then they will broadcast through the PA system ultrasonic tones, which I certainly can't hear, but most people can't hear. And then the phones start flashing in unison, or they start coordinated action because it's receiving these tones. But on a couple of websites, I have examples of these tones embedded in the Stephen Colbert Show, in an NPR podcast. And what happens is you have I think there were 250 or maybe 230 apps that had this technology in the Play Store. An unknown number of iOS apps had this technology baked in. And as we heard, Intel just invested in them, so maybe that's something that goes in some subsystem somewhere. And if you're playing a game like, Candy Crush would be a good one to take a look at. And you're playing that on the couch, or you have played it recently, or it's open, or maybe it can do it in the background. These tones come by. It then hits your phone hears it, it sends a message back to the database, and it says, this person just heard this commercial. So the next time you hit a FaceBag-enabled page or some other page where the same advertising network is connected, you're going to get that ad. And I believe that what we're seeing a lot of now is ads are playing on the radio, they're playing on television. I mean, these tones can be embedded in a web page with no video or audio. It can be a hidden player. You won't know it. It'll just go click, click, autoplay, and it's done. And you can see it. I got a spectrum analyzer, and you can see you see the tones just pop up. Sometimes you hear a little clicking that's audible to the listener.
No wonder we all have tinnitus.
Oh, that's another point. It could definitely. Who knows if it's harmful or not? You don't know. But here's the real problem. When you're doing, so there was an example, I looked at a couple white hat sites. When let's say you're on tour, on your Tor browser, and you're going to go to some site, you want to be completely anonymous, but you have your phone nearby, and you hit a page that you may think you're anonymous, but the page emits this tone. The app or wherever this embedded technology is sitting will send a message back and say, oh, I just received a tone. It's this guy. It's his phone number. Here's IMEI number. Here's the IP address. All the stuff your phone loves to give. Or whatever else that, the phone is laying down. The phone is in his pocket. All of this stuff. And that's called ultrasonic cross-device tracking. And I think that's what we're seeing, or a version of it. Now, of course, the nasty part of it, just going back to the talking tube, there's an app that goes along with it. It's the Alexa app. And that's where you can look at your shopping list, etc. I don't know what this app is doing. I mean, I have no idea. Maybe it does turn on the microphone. Maybe permissions were asked somewhere. I didn't care to look. I just went, install it. This thing can be listening to me, but it could also just be listening to the TV and then saying, oh, he's watching this show. Beep, 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 beep. My phone picks it up. Amazon now knows what I'm watching. This is completely technically possible.
And what also is technically possible, especially with our group, is mechanisms to defeat the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm OTG. You can't find me. Yes, I'm OTG. You can't find me. Yeah, I'm OTG. No eyes on me.
Yes, there are many things that can be done, and the number one thing. Yes,
I should mention that while we have coders out there that are talented, that it might be interesting to send messages, these little
with our own coded message, our own tones.
Yeah, with our own tones, saying and indicating that everybody's listening to No Agenda all the time.
Exactly. We there's a lot to be learned, and who knows what the encoding of the blips is. But my solution, and I'm just going to talk about the phone now.
And again, by the way, everything you said in that last segment, before you go to your solution, I should say my solution is to keep the phone off and in the closet. But
yeah, right.
So I don't worry about any of this stuff.
I know,
go on.
But we've already established that we have different lifestyles, and I need to be in some kind of contact. But I have my determination now is Facebook bad, Google bad, but really bad on us. We're carrying around $1,000 pieces of technology. And I'll just use the word again, we're the wetware. We basically do whatever Silicon Valley wants us to do with it. And the problem is the phone itself. Not that Apple is evil, but they set out to do things like, we've got the accelerometer. Now we can do great games and cool stuff. But of course, that can also be used to find out where you are, what you're doing, riding the bus, driving the car, walking, running, sleeping, reading in bed. All of this can be determined by this data, which, you have to be asked for it. And you probably just said yes. So you're giving it away. Browsers are a whole other issue. So I, as we discussed in the previous show, I've ordered 5 different OTG devices. These would be phones that I'm using. I'm going to test every single one of them to replace my smartphone. And I have the first one in, and I've been using it for a couple of days, and I've learned some interesting things. If you're interested.
Well, I think everyone's interested. It's not just about me.
You should be riveted. I'm only talking to you.
All right.
The first one that came in.
Oh, hold on before you continue. What happened to the pager?
Oh, no. The pager is still activated, but as we discussed, the pager, it just doesn't work because you can't have an actual convo.
It's a piece of shit.
It's not a piece of shit, but that was the first realization for me of the changes in technology that brought us to where we are today. The first one is the speed of messaging. It's no longer really appropriate to have to wait 3 to 5 minutes in between a message going back and forth if it's just I love you too. So that's just no good. Or any other conversation where you might want to have like a real chat experience. So that is just not working. So I decided I would get a feature phone, which would mean no apps, a browser is really the way to go. SMS text messaging, and, of course, calling. But the idea is the phone is so low tech that it has nothing to give. There's, of course, it's going to, although the one I have doesn't show up as a known browser, which is kind of fun. So the first phone I got, and it has to have a QWERTY keyboard, a full keyboard, because if you're going to use something for, messaging back and forth, you can't be hitting a key 3 times just to get to D. That's a little too old school. So the first one is the Nokia X2-1. And the first thing I realized is we have come a long way with cell phone connectivity because this only uses 2G and really the old school GSM networks, which are being phased out by everybody to make room for God knows whatever, 5G, 6G, all that crap. So they're being phased out. So you don't have a reliable signal. You go into a building, you lose your signal. Remember those days?
Yeah, that was like most of the time.
Yeah. So that problem comes back. But otherwise, the phone, it does exactly what it says on the packaging. You can call. I mean, all the apps, like OV Store, none of that works. Yeah, there's no mail client. But the browser works perfectly well with webmail, and I have a mobile template for squirrel mail.
Ah,
yeah. So that, but if you do Gmail, not that you'd want to, but most email systems work very well. You can even get to the tweeters. They have a very old version which still pops up. And interestingly enough, I logged into Google with it, and Google could not, because I wanted to know what they had seen. They could not identify the browser type, which means they really don't know much about me other than my IP address. So as an OTG device, which of course there's tracking going on, but can they really do much with my behavior? Can they really tell what I'm doing? No, they can't. But the connectivity issue is too big. So I have a couple more of these 2G phones coming in. I don't think they're going to be good enough. It has to be a minimum of 3G because you got to get on the different frequencies. Otherwise, there's just not enough signals, and we're going to lose out. Again, there's no apps. It's all just, if it's an app, then it's something that might talk directly to an API. But if you just use a browser, the text messaging, and the Nokia actually has it does kind of like a conversation threaded version of it. And you can go to separate things called conversations, which is just text messages put into a chat style interface. It's pretty enjoyable. And I had a great time again yesterday doing some things around town and just watching the zombies. The zombies on the street, heads bent over, shoulders hunched, looking at their phones. And did I miss
walking into holes?
Did I miss anything? No, I really didn't miss anything. Now, a lot of people are sending me ideas like, well, you can do it. You can do a complete clean load of pure Linux, GNU Linux approved on an Android phone. You rip it off, do your own custom build. Of course. But the whole idea is digital detox. You're off the grid, not just because the face bags and the Googles are building up a profile of you and all this listener stuff that can be hidden in apps. It's not just because of that. It's you need your life back. You really do. And you will enjoy it. And you know what? I come home, I get on my Brave browser, I fire up the VPN. There's minimal tracking, and I still go to the social nets, and I get my news and my information. I do it I have so much time now that I don't have this app phone. I binge watched Lost in Space. That's the proof right there.
There's something very ironic about what you just said.
But it's true.
I have so much time now, I can waste time.
But if you now, because we're talking about the tube, if you now know that the Amazon Echo Kids Edition is coming out, which has a special version of its voice assistant, which is also going to reward kids for being friendly towards the device. Yes, saying thank you. And the device will say, you're welcome. Thank you for being so polite. It will help train your slave. I mean, this has got to stop. I know
it's not stopping anytime soon.
No,
but we're not stopping it.
Well, as soon as we have a voice record, we determine we're getting rid of the talking tube, and we're actually going to throw it down the trash chute. Because that...
No!
Speaking of which, that big fire on the last show?
Yeah.
You know what it was?
It was your old apartment.
It was my old apartment, but someone had thrown smoldering coal, apparently from a barbecue they had on the balcony.
Down the trash chute.
Down the trash chute. And
this is where we end up with. This is what our population is going to be like. Idiocracy.
Yes, that's exactly right. And, so the problem was that burns pretty well down there at the bottom, but all the smoke went to the top floors. So it's just billowing black smoke, apparently. It's
That's fabulous.
Yeah. Let me see. So if you want to learn more about this ultrasonic information, a lot is in the show notes. And just to add one final bit, besides them having an investment from Intel, they also have a investment and partnership with Visa.
Yeah.
And, when you get this kind of stuff, when you put it all together, we need to have...
Smells trouble. Starts with T.
Yeah, it's big trouble. And one other thing on the horizon...
Trouble.
Yeah, well, it's very hard trying to go back in time using older tech. The world is really not geared for it.
I challenge people to go use Windows 1.
Yeah. Also, the speed of these phones is pretty funny.
I want to remind people that the movie Josie and the Pussycats, starring the already mentioned Parker Posey, is about this. Is exactly about what Adam's talking about with this, the Internet of Sound, as the guy put it, Internet of Sound, iOS. That's what the movie's about. It's very funny, kind of insightful, futuristic film done years ago. But it's about this exact same topic, embedding these little tones and sounds inside of things, only this was done to brainwash the public.
And I remember you talking about that movie, and I have not seen it, and you said it was a good movie. It just hit me that you reviewed it on the show. I didn't remember that was the plot.
It's a very good movie.
Huh.
Very hard to come by. Well produced, a very funny movie. It's kind of a satire.
Well, so now what I do is when we're watching TV, I have the spectrum analyzer on.
Oh, God.
Yeah, to see who's embedding ads. Yeah. What I really want, I couldn't find, though.
I got the spectrum. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, I do this as a public service, man.
No, I think you're doing, yeah. Well, I think it's a fantastic public service, but it's a little nerdy.
Yeah, but the shit that's going on is not okay. And people just don't realize it. So, I may not be able to solve your Dementia A or Dementia B problems, but this is a problem for everybody. And it's not healthy. We've determined this many times. And these phones, it's just it's something.
I like the way the guy was so proud of this thing. He's talking.
Oh yeah.
Discussing.
Oh yes.
Your CEO guy.
Yeah, the Air Network. Yes. Oh yes. Air gapped.
He's the one who said Internet of Sound.
Internet of Sound. That's right. And of course, Google is trying to hijack SMS now. They've never had a good chat client, so now they're come out with a new additional protocol called, they're just calling it chat. It's supposed to integrate with SMS, but it'll still maybe go through XSMP or, by the way, for those of you who are going OTG from the iPhone, here's the bad news. If you have lots of contacts on WhatsApp, just tell everybody, screw it, you can't get me there. They have your number anyway, because that's how you connect on WhatsApp. They're going to have to use text messaging because WhatsApp, you're not going to get it. I think it'll run on some Nokia phones, Series 60.
What about Telegraph, man?
No, none of that stuff. There's none of that is there. Go home and do that. But if you have, this is kind of nice about when Apple introduced iMessage, once you have established connection, then you're not going through SMS messaging systems. You're going through their own proprietary IP. I think it's probably peer-to-peer after they connect you. But here's the cool thing. If your phone is not connected, so, I turn my phone off, like completely off, I leave the house.
I want to mention that you said, here's the cool thing.
It is cool. It is cool.
Yeah, okay, sure. Go on.
When you leave the house, if someone tries to send you a message through iMessage on the IP and it sees you're offline, it'll automatically send it as a text message. And then when you reply, it'll show up in the same thread. So so the migration off is a lot easier than I thought it would be, because I'm like, oh my God, everyone who's got me on the IP version of iMessage, they can't text me anymore, but they can, as long as you turn your phone off. So that's good.
Enough phone news.
Yes, and today I received the Z431, and I believe that has 3G radios. I will have a quick review on Sunday.
You down with OTG? You down with OTG? You down with OTG? Adam's OTG.
That's right.
So I have a short news story that came out. It was about a murder of not a murder, but a shooting of some poor sound guy that was on the Cop Show. mentioning cops earlier.
Oh.
And I think tell me if you can kind of catch the try to imagine the overall situation as this report is given. They don't really get into, they don't just editorialize on it or anything, but this guy was sued, this guy's family sued the police department that they were following around. This is cop sound man killed.
Hey, where are they running? It's the show that takes viewers to the front lines as cops hunt for criminals.
I got it. Hold on.
But on this night, it's the cops' camera crew caught in the crossfire. An armed robbery suspect inside an Omaha Wendy's. It erupts into a brutal firefight. The shooting stops, but 38-year-old sound man Bryce Dion, his microphone on the ground, is hit.
Bryce, are you all right? Bryce, are you all right?
The bullet that killed Dion just missing his bulletproof vest.
Bryce, stay with me, man. Stay with me. Hey!
The fatal shot was fired by an Omaha police officer. Dion's family now suing the city of Omaha for negligence.
And I think it sheds light on exactly what happened and the fact that Mr. Dion was caught in the crossfire through no fault of his own.
The suspect, armed with a pellet gun, was also killed.
Through no fault. Wait a minute. Couple of things.
That took a couple beats.
Jeez. Okay. First of all, through no fault of his own. Sorry. The guy was there. Anything can happen and when you're doing that kind of work. So through no fault.
Especially when apparently, from the sounds of it, the cops are just shooting randomly all over the place with their eyes closed.
And I think the guy might have been shot in the back if it missed his bulletproof vest and then still killed him.
Who knows?
But the suspect had a pellet gun. Nice.
Yeah. That's the kicker.
Jeez.
So these cops, they got some guy with a pellet gun who's ping, ping, ping. He's got a pellet gun. Pellet guns are dangerous.
Yeah, but you can't hold that up. If you hold up anything, you hold up a cell phone that looks like a gun, you're dead too.
Beside the point, there's a guy with a pellet gun. These guys are going nuts, shooting all over the place. I believe they do shoot with their eyes closed, squinting and then shooting like crazy and shaking their hands. And they shot the sound guy somehow. There's a guy with a pellet gun. He's right there. You shoot at him.
You remember the old FBI show? Where it'd always be like, stop, FBI. And the guy would go, poof, 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 poof. And the FBI would go, poof. And the guy would be down.
Yeah.
Those days
are over.
those were the days.
Anyway, I just found that to be the guy had a pellet gun and I don't know, it's just beyond me. I got another. John Gray, the author of Men Are From Venus and Women From Mars, or Men Are From
classic
Mars.
Book. Yeah, classic book.
I don't know where everybody's from, but they're from some planet.
Danger Will Robinson.
He did that book about 25 years ago. He's in town. He's going to be speaking to some, the thing in San Mateo. So they interviewed him. I thought these were pretty. It's a little old-fashioned thing, and I'm surprised he is not being picketed by the locals and the libjos that run this area. But I felt that there's two clips I felt worth listening to, and here's the first one.
What has changed the most in 25 years since the original?
Well, more traditional relationships are doing better. But what happens as women become providers, a new dynamic sets up, and we need to know new communication skills for that equality in the relationship. It was much simpler in the old days when men made the money and women took care of the home. They do their roles. Today, women are making the money along with men, so what are men's roles at home? And so often women want to feminize men and make men into women, as opposed to understanding how a man can actually support a woman in coming back to a place of happiness. Because when women are spending all day in the workplace, they're stimulating testosterone, which is the male hormone that we as men need 30 times more than women. But for women, they're not stimulating estrogen and progesterone, which women need 10 times more than men. So there's relationship skills at home that can help women open their hearts more and be happier and not be so overwhelmed, which is very common today.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be a shit show. This folds perfectly into my next clips. What's the second one?
The second one folds perfectly into what you was just going on and on about, how important all this stuff was to you. And we'll play it.
One of the things that makes life more overwhelming now is the prevalence of social media, and everybody, we're in a text-crazy society. How does that impact these relationships?
It has a huge impact, and I cover that in a new book as well, which is what happens is when you've got a computer here stimulating your brain, it stimulates more dopamine, the feel-good brain chemical, than actually looking in somebody's eyes and talking to them. So just like if you were to take cocaine, which stimulates high levels of dopamine, in one use, your brain rewires itself to prioritize cocaine over spending time in relationship.
Well, here's the deal. If you go OTG every day, as a reward, you get to do a line. It's healthier, believe it or not.
Looking at a person, conversation with a person, we become impatient, we lose attention, we get distracted, we become, particularly for men, women become overwhelmed, their brain becomes overstimulated with things they have to do. They can't find that sort of resting place in their heart and feel happy. This is all due to overstimulation from electronics. So that's high stimulation. Nice. The brain rewires itself. It can correct with new insights of learning to balance high stimulation with low stimulation, which means taking time to turn it all off and have a conversation.
Oh, man, let's remember this clip. We will revisit this. That was 1 minute, very well explained. It's totally true. So. And that's why...
Nailed it.
Yeah, totally nailed it. Well, let's just go back to we should have played these two in the opposite order, but let's go back to the male, female, the testosterone, etc. We had this event in Toronto, and the guy who did it is being called an incel. Now, we learned about incels on this show half a year ago. You have to
back up and explain the event in Toronto.
The clips kind of explain it, so okay. I'll use the clips. But the incel is the involuntary celibate, and we talked about this group. I think it was in relation to the Red Pill documentary that girl had made, maybe. That's how long ago.
Maybe.
It's a while ago.
Which everyone should see, by the way.
Yeah, it's a while ago. So, there's this group of self-identifying, as far as I understand, mainly men, boys, guys, who say,
who can't get laid.
Who can't get laid, right. And so then, for this reason, they are, and this, in the past week, this really started to shift where this term red pill, which I always understood, and I have a clip that explains the current version of it, because Kanye was red pilling, or who the hell knows what they mean. I think what it basically means is these guys hate women and want to kill them. That is now the brand. Yes, that is how they're branded. Here we go.
But we're going to start with a disturbing conversation.
This is NPR, by the way, as you can tell. It's the NPR sound.
But we're going to start with a disturbing conversation, maybe not for young ears, about the Canadian van attacker who killed 10, mostly women. He's being praised.
Notice.
What's her name? The fresh air gal.
Yeah, but notice 10, mostly women. She's now saying, without any evidence, she's already setting it up by saying he targeted women, or implying that. Let's put it that way.
Ah,
yeah,
good catch.
Because he killed. I've only heard how many people. How many did he wound? Was it all women as well? I think that would matter in your reporting, Terry.
Van attacker who killed 10, mostly women. He's being praised online as a new saint by the misogynist groups he was reportedly a member of. They're called incels, involuntary celibates. They hate women because they believe they're denying them sex. One wrote on a message board, after 25-year-old Alec Manassian drove his van into pedestrians, hopefully now someone uses a truck to just ram women down. Sam Louie is a psychotherapist from Seattle who treats sex addictions and many incels. Sam, tell us more about this community.
Well, they gather online, and
I'm mystified. Second time I've used the word by this. Why community? Why is she calling it a community? If these are people.
Find this. You're getting clip of the day for this already.
I'll wait until.
So remember that when you finish it, however long it goes.
Yeah. You find this what?
Fascinating.
Tell us more about this community.
Well, they gather online, and it's growing, and part of the reason is because of the way the culture has shifted, where folks are teased mercilessly in this culture for, I'll just say it bluntly, being virgins. Some of them may be socially awkward all the way through the autistic spectrum. And then they also don't fit the hyper-masculine description of what they think would be attractive. Yeah. All these different facets that just fuel their sense of shame.
Oh.
What?
Well, hold on.
Clip of the day.
Just wanted to make sure I took that.
I should have pulled the clip of the day. I thought I was going to have a better punchline to it, but okay. You can keep it. You can keep it.
I just broke it up for reasons of us talking about it. We jumped in a little early, but let's continue.
Why has it propelled to this kind of rage that we are seeing on these forums?
Well, the reason is, I think, very multi-layered. If we start with the beginning.
Multi-layered? What is that shit? Multi-layered?
You said multi-layered?
I think so.
Very multi-layered.
He said multi-layered.
Multi-layer.
If we start with the beginning, this community started
in
1993 by, coincidentally, a woman who was from Toronto. She wanted to make this very inclusive. All men and women were welcome. It wasn't about violence, but it was more or less helping people to connect with other men and women who struggled with her. And she said she bantied around in an interview with other names like late bloomer, non-blooming.
Forever alone?
Forever. FA is forever alone, perpetually single. And what happened was a lot of men, young men, their angst, they had nowhere to fuel their sexual, emotional, social frustration. So they found these online communities.
How is this any different than from the 1920s, the 1860s, whenever the old maid? It used to be called an old maid. From the women's side.
Yeah.
The men were just called doofuses, but the old maid.
Preachers. No. This is something has changed in society where, sure, I mean, there's plenty of people, I'm sure there's been communities all the time of people who don't get laid, but to say that there's no way to vent their sexual frustration, I don't know, ever hear of porn? I mean, there's all kinds of things.
How about hookers?
Hookers? Well, maybe that's, I don't know. The access to hookers is being cut back. Can't get on the back page anymore.
And their angst, they had nowhere to fuel their sexual, emotional, social frustration. So they found these online communities and forums.
And this is where we start to understand that we've moved from a red pill to a black pill. I think there's some guy who also has the handle black pill, because then we move from just being anti-women to...
That was red pill, blue pill had to do with the Matrix movie.
Yeah, so now red pilling, this is how disturbing it is. In the movie The Matrix, Neo gets the choice, blue pill or red pill. Blue pill, everything's the same. You wake up and your world is the same. You're living in the Matrix.
And you're still a Democrat.
The red pill, you take the red pill, you go down the ugly tubing, you get all slimed and you figure out that it's all a scam. And so now the interpretation on the social nets is when you're red pilling someone, you're telling them the lie. Oh, this world that you're living in is not real. It's completely different. But what you're communicating is a lie because the world is the way. It's turning the whole meme around.
This is insanity.
Look, some of the things, the misogynist things we're hearing about on these forums are disgusting. Right. They want women murdered and killed. But for those who are just this loneliness that you're talking about, it sounds profound.
It is. And I think what you mentioned earlier, just to help listeners understand this whole black pill, the black pill is probably a very small percentage. That's the pill that they metaphorically take, which means I will now espouse violence, hatred, and misogyny, whereas others might go the red pill. So the red pill, I'm learning a lot from some of my clients. The red pill, it's similar to the whole Matrix analogy where if I take the red pill, this is the reality. And the reality is I need to learn other skills to, quote unquote, pick up women. So they might use manipulation tactics that not necessarily violence, but they need to come up with other strategies.
Now, here's an idea. Why don't we stop hating men and masculinity en masse. That might be an interesting start. You're confusing people to no end. You're toxic, especially if you're white. You're toxic and racist. You shut up. You're too busy. You're acting like a moron. Take this pill. You're privileged. You know, there's been a war on men, and then you find it strange that kids and by the way, not a single question anywhere about this Toronto van driver if he was on any kind of psychotropic drugs. He seemed pretty wacky. It's rather a wacky thing to do. No, nothing. You can go ahead and look. You can't find any of that. Put these kids on that. Tell them they're horrible. Women speak incredibly disparaging about men, about masculinity, about male behavior. What do you expect?
They're getting what they expect, or they should have expected.
Everyone's tone deaf and colorblind to this stuff. They don't see it, John. They don't see it at all. And by the way, women hate Trump.
They do.
Yeah. Here's Maxine Waters with proof.
Are you the belief that Democrats should make impeachment a centerpiece of the midterm elections?
Well, they have indicated they do not want to do that. They think that the Republicans will use it. You know, that whether we're talking about the DNC or the DCCC, they all believe that the Republicans will just use that and say they're mad because they lost the election. And they don't particularly think that that's a good way to go with this. I don't agree with them.
You don't agree? Both.
No.
I mean, you don't agree both tactically and also substantively? I mean, I guess my point is, I know that you substantively feel he has committed impeachable offenses.
That's right.
Are you not persuaded by the idea that it would be a tactical mistake politically?
No, I'm not persuaded by that idea. You know why? Because I tell you, everywhere I go, people are talking about why can't you all get rid of him? Right. Why don't they impeach him? What's wrong with the other members of Congress? Why don't they stand up with you? This man is dishonorable. He lies all the time. He's a con man. They say all of these things, and I'm not just talking about my district, whether I'm on the airplane, I'm walking down the street in New York, wherever I am, I'm hearing it, and I'm told that 70% of women who have been polled say that they want him impeached.
All right, Congresswoman Maxine Waters.
And so I was at...
she just lies.
Well, I was at Johanna's yesterday. She cuts my hair. I'm one of four male clients. And I said, so what's everyone talking about? She says, every single one of my clients who sits in the chair says they don't understand why Trump hasn't been impeached and thrown in jail yet. And I said, wait a minute, they connecting those two? She says, oh yeah, they think impeachment means he gets thrown in jail.
Wow.
Yeah. She said every single one. Except for me and the former New York banker. Of course.
Yeah. People that seem to have a grasp on reality.
Well, but that is their reality. Just turn on the telescreen. That is the reality of what people are seeing. Maxine, by the way, is also one of the Time 100. I'm not quite sure what the qualifications are. Maybe it's if you're nearing the age 100. But
if you had to give some advice to President Trump, what advice would you give him?
Please resign so that I won't have to keep up this fight of your, having to be impeached because I don't think you deserve to be there. Just get out.
She's getting weary, I think.
So they're going after this guy, Jackson, the Trump's doctor, that White House doctor.
Yeah,
who was actually Obama's doctor.
Yeah,
so
what's the dealio? What's the dealio with this guy? He's to be the Veteran Administration's guy. Is that what the problem is?
He's an admiral. Being an admiral means you do have to have some management skills. So it's possible he could do that job. But for some reason, the Democrats decided they can screw with it.
Does he need to be confirmed? Is that what's happening? Is that a confirmation spot?
I believe so.
Okay. So
but
that's
whatever the case, they're making a big fuss about it. And I got a bunch of clips. They're all short. Let's start with the. Let's let's see. I got a piece on Jackson bad, White House bad, ABC. This is the way ABC approaches it, and then I'm going to take it to PBS and walk it down the road with
We
you.
are also following breaking developments at this hour involving President Trump's personal physician, the president's pick to lead the VA, and there are new allegations uncovered tonight. Admiral Ronnie Jackson is now accused of crashing a government vehicle while drunk and recklessly prescribing an opioid, Percocet. Well, just a short time ago, Admiral Jackson was fighting back. What he's now saying, and ABC's Mary Bruce is on the Hill again tonight for us.
Toxic, abusive, and volatile. Tonight, that's how some former and current colleagues are describing the president's pick to lead the VA. Accounts from more than 20 people provided to ABC News by the top Democrat on the Veterans Affairs Committee paint an explosive picture of Dr. Ronnie Jackson. One describing him as, quote, the most unethical person I have ever worked with. Have you seen any concrete evidence?
We've talked to a number of folks that have made these claims, and we need to find out if it's true or not.
Jackson is accused of drinking on duty. On one occasion, when traveling with the president, he allegedly could not be reached when needed because he was passed out drunk in his hotel room. And at a party, he allegedly got drunk and wrecked a government vehicle. There are also accusations about Jackson's prescribing practices. He once allegedly gave a large supply of Percocet, a prescription opioid, to another staffer without documenting it, throwing his staff into a panic. When traveling on Air Force One, physicians and nurses describe him handing out Ambien to help people sleep and Provigil to help them wake up, earning him this nickname.
The Candyman. Because he doled out prescription drugs like candy on these trips where they flew through multiple time zones.
We've talked to some who say that's standard operating procedure to make sleeping aids, for instance, available on long trips.
Well, all I've got to say, if that's standard operating procedure, I have not witnessed it, nor have I participated in it.
Late today, as these new details emerged, Jackson was spotted at the White House. Asked about prescribing that Percocet, he denied it.
I have no idea where that's coming from.
And wrecking a government car, he denies that too.
It should be very easy to forget. I've not wrecked a car.
Before these new bombshell allegations came out, the White House spent the day defending Jackson.
Wow, Tina was talking about this morning, and I had no idea that these were the allegations. The Candyman, he's got a nickname? The Candyman?
This rings of bull crap.
Well, it's a lot.
Well, first of all, he's a doctor.
Yeah.
I've never known a doctor yet that doesn't hand out stuff like Percocet just casually.
Everybody's got a doctor friend.
And he's got Percocet and Ambien on the Air Force One. He gives I can't sleep, doctor. Okay, here, take this. Pulls out of his pocket. Who knows? And then he's also probably got, he's a military guy. So he knows about, what's the other stuff? The Provigil, which is a military drug that everybody in the Air Force uses, Navy. Everyone, it's better than anything.
Hold on. We're all drugged up. What's the problem?
And everyone's drugged up.
I'm drugged up right now.
But they're making a big fuss. The Percocet. It's not like he's giving fentanyl. But, okay, they're making a big fuss. None of the reporters do any background on it. They don't do any work.
Where did it come from? This was 23 people?
It all came from Sherrod Brown and 23 people.
Well, was this in Senate testimony, the House, or where did it?
This is a senator in the Armed Forces, one of the Armed Forces.
Is this something on C-SPAN where these people are saying this? Can I watch this?
No, these are secret. We don't even know who these 20.
It's secret. Okay. Right.
It's always 23. In ABC is over 20, but they didn't want to use the word 23 because 23 is code.
Yeah.
Sherrod Brown comes on PBS, and I'm going to start playing those clips, and he's talking about a lot of stuff, and he's contradicting himself.
Who is this Sheriff Brown? You
Sherrod.
Said? Oh, Sherrod. Who is Sherrod?
He's a one of the you've never heard of him, senators from Ohio, who's all in. He's a Hillbot.
Okay.
And he hates this guy for some reason. None of these reports mention that he's actually was brought into the White House by Obama. Just don't mention Obama. And it's just the report is so slanted, and no one has done any research to find this wrecked car.
Yeah, that seems like something we should be able to find.
So let's start with the first 23 people and the doctor.
Of the VA coming out of the White House. I think probably the most troubling single thing about Dr. Jackson, and this is corroborated by enough people, 23 people have come forward, military or former military, talking to us that he was so inebriated one night, we went out or one day and wrecked a government car. Things like that. The president clearly didn't ask questions about, his staff didn't, before he was nominated. And this just creates chaos. At the most important job here is how do you take care of 9 million veterans? And they have injected this chaos into the whole upper management of the VA. And there is a leaderless institution now, a leaderless agency that takes care of 9 million veterans.
I should point out that Dr. Jackson told reporters at the White House this afternoon that he denies wrecking a car, and he also said that that's easy to check, and he's moving forward with his nomination. He said there was also allegations in the summary that he was prescribing Percocet, an opioid, to people on the White House staff, and that they were having trouble tracking it in the White House medical office.
Yeah, I mean, we hear all these things. We see this corroborated by a number of people. Again, 23 people.
Wow, what's with the 23, bro? What's the big deal?
23 people.
Yeah, what's the big deal?
I think this goes back to the talking points theories, where you list a specific number that makes it sound authoritative.
97%.
Exactly. 23 people, and then he goes on again about these 23 people.
17 agencies, 17 intelligence agencies.
Yes.
97% of scientists, 23 people. Okay, good point. So it's a professional job.
And he says chaos over and over again. This is part of the anti-Trump.
rotation.
Chaos. And I don't know why they're going after this guy. I mean, he probably pissed somebody off somewhere along the lines, and that one person is in that group of 23, if there even are 23. They never name them. So let's go back to part 2.
We see this corroborated by a number of people. Again, 23 people, military, active duty or retired military or veterans who have moved on to other things, have spoken about these issues, this whole host of issues. They have credibility. We want to get to the bottom of it. But what's clear here is the White House, first they fired Dr. Shulkin because they wanted to politicize the VA and privatize it. And the president seems to go along with the Koch brothers and others against what every veterans group that's spoken out about it says. And
I had to stop there because he's got the host of issues. That doesn't say what they are, except the wrecking the car and being drunk all the time.
Right.
Then he gratuitously throws in an old bromide, the Koch brothers.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's interesting because the Koch brothers hate Trump. They fought against Trump. They didn't want Trump to get in. I think they were supporting Jeb Bush. Never gave him any money, along with the Citizens United, which I'm surprised doesn't drop that in there. These are old Democrat bromides, the Koch brothers. And when he throws that in, Trump and the Koch brothers are about polar opposites on almost everything. So this is bullcrap. But when he said the Koch brothers, I got very concerned.
Yes, I understand your concern, but regardless of what is happening or what this guy did or didn't do, why is this just a really pathetic ploy just to make Trump look like he's an idiot? Is that the idea?
Exactly.
They're going to ruin this. By the way, Michael Flynn got exonerated from any collusion.
Of course.
His life's ruined.
Yeah. I give a shit.
So now they're going to ruin this guy? He's a black guy, too.
No, he's not.
The Admiral?
No.
Yeah, he is.
No, he's not.
I thought his doctor was a black guy.
No, is that smooth talking guy, white guy's been in there. Obama's not going to have a black doctor. Hey-o.
What's his name again?
Something Jackson. Ronnie Jackson.
Ronnie Jackson. Why did I think it was a black guy?
Put on White House doctor because you're thinking of probably the neurosurgeon.
Okay, this is a very white guy. Well, that's his problem. That's his problem.
Yeah, if he was a black guy. But yeah, you're right. There's some truth to that. If he was a black guy, there's no chance they were going to do this.
Probably not.
So let's go on to more bullshit. Number 3.
against what every veterans group that's spoken out about it says. And the veterans groups, whether
This is
the
a lie.
Legion, the VFW, the AMVETS, the Disabled American Vets, the Paralyzed Vets, all of them oppose privatization of VA because they know the people on top that make money from this private company, but Veterans Health Services and
Hold on a
morality
second, stop.
agencies.
This is not about privatization, but he changes the subject
Yeah.
and kind of mixes the two ideas that this Jackson guy and privatization all one of the same. So then he names these veteran groups as if the veteran groups are against this guy.
Okay, I got it.
Very slick.
Here's what's going on. We know the veterans group is a huge group, and I'm pretty sure a lot of them voted for Trump because he is all about the military.
I know where you're going.
This is a feeble attempt to win over the hearts and minds of vets by saying your president and his administration don't care about you. They put a drunk in charge. Look how stupid they are.
Yeah. I think you're right. Let's go with this. Finish clip 3.
But Veterans Health Services and morale at the agency always suffers when you do that. So you start with that, but now then there's more chaos injected here because there's no backup plan. And I talk to people that work at the Cincinnati VA or the Dayton VA or the Chillicothe or Cleveland VAs or the community-based outpatient clinics in Lima and Mansfield, Ohio. They tell you we just want a VA that's got a stable management that does predictable things instead of this chaos with no end in sight, as Dr. Jackson continues to founder, and people in both parties keep asking questions that the White House never asked.
Okay. Now there it is. Yeah, and he's using an old meme. Why is he? I mean, he should be using some. Is this just his own thing?
I think Sherrod is a drunk. He's the drunk.
I'm curious now about these 23 people. Do we ever talk about who they are? Is there any info?
He brings it up again one more time in the last clip, another short clip. But this time he goes in and listen carefully, where he says one thing and then kind of says, well, I know how the White House does this. I've been there. Well, not really. I've never really been there, but it's unbelievable, this character.
Is vetting some of these nominees?
Well, I'm concerned that they're vetting it all. I mean, from my observations up close, I've been in the White House a number of times. I've watched them up close. I've seen their nomination process up pretty close. I mean, I'm not at the White House watching them do the nominations, but what happens is the president has an idea of somebody, usually based on likability and loyalty to the president, not necessarily to the people this cabinet agency person might, the person they might serve, like the veterans. He likes them. He finds them loyal. He says he wants to nominate them, and they move without staff saying, wait a minute, Mr. President, like they always say in every other White House, wait a minute, we need to make a lot of calls to find out his background, if there's any problems, if he's had management issues or substance abuse issues or performance issues. These 23 people we talked to, apparently none or very few of them were ever called by the White House.
Quickly, Senator, deduct.
Okay, hold on a second. What's this Jamoke's name? You can talk. Just what's his name again?
Sherrod Brown, SHA something. He says the 23 people, and these 23 people now have been taken to some level of, some height, the pantheon of 23 people, and apparently, except a couple of them, he says none of them were ever contacted. Well, a couple of them were. He keeps backing off on half of this stuff. He says none of them were contacted. Well, a couple of them were. But who are these people that they'd be contacted in the first place? He says they're veterans of some sort, and maybe they've moved on to other things. It could be janitors for all we know. But, somebody's bitching. I can't believe this. Luckily, that the Asian guy who's on PBS NewsHour was not happy with this guy's performance.
Brown
cutting him off.
Brown was vetted as it's Jared, Jerrod. Brown.
Well, they always pronounce it Sherrod.
No, he was vetted as a potential vice presidential running mate for Hillary Clinton in 2016. The choice ultimately came down to Brown and Tim Kaine, who was selected as Clinton's running mate.
Yeah, Kaine was more gay, so it was better.
Brown, one of Bernie Sanders' closest allies in the U.S. Senate, endorsed Clinton and campaigned for her prior to the 2016 Democratic primary in Ohio. Washington Monthly suggested that as a potential presidential candidate in 2020, Brown could unite the establishment and progressive wings of the Democratic Party. There you go. He's ramping up. Hey, I can give this a shot.
He can't express himself
well. Let's see. Let's look at his background. Hold on. He's a doctor's son. This is where it all starts. Brown was in Mansfield, Ohio, the son of Emily and Charles Gailey Brown, M.D. He was named after his maternal grandfather, became an Eagle Scout. We love our Eagle Scouts.
I think Eagle Scouts are high. I respect that.
In 1967, he became an Eagle Scout. Holy crap. How old is the guy?
Well, he was 40 at the time, so it's kind
of... Received a Bachelor of Arts degree in Russian Studies from Yale University in 1974.
Well, he went to Yale, studied Russian. He's a spook.
Mm-hmm.
He actually has the voice of kind of a spook.
He lived in Davenport College. While in college, Brown volunteered for liberal politicians such as George McGovern and went on to receive a Master of Arts degree in Education and a Master of Public Administration degree from Ohio State University in Columbus. Respectively, he taught the Mansfield branch campus of Ohio State University. He backpacked in India during the state of emergency imposed by Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. Oh, backpacker? Well, we know they're all spooks. You know, backpacker wanders off. Oh, I'm in North Korea all of a sudden. Oh, I'm in India.
I'm in Iran.
I'm in Iran. Oh, I'm in India during the state of emergency. He's making a run. He'd probably said, watch this. I'll get this guy. Oh, I can do this. I'm Sherrod Brown. Damn it. Don't you think that's how it went down?
It's possible. I mean, it's definitely, your analysis is absolutely correct. But whether it went down like that, I wonder.
At the cocktail
party. He may
party.
have been told to do this because he's so nervous. And he's the way he says, well, you know, I was in the White House. I know how they do this, but although I've never been there. I mean, he just can't express himself very well.
That's good. That's good. All right. Hey, those of you who are listening to us, I hope you found us on Google's new podcast player. Tell me how it works. Do you have an Android, right? You should take a look. Let me know how it looks. But apparently, you just do no agenda, and then it pops up our show in a web-based player. Apparently,
I doubt it.
Yeah, and they have recommendations based on pot. Here, they're also telling you got to add special tags. They say they're optional, but please, now you got to add Google podcast tags to your RSS feed so they'll know how to surface it.
Oh, please.
These guys are a-holes.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh, yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
Now, we do have some people to thank. I don't know if the lead-in with these guys are a-holes are necessarily the best way to go.
I had no other transition.
But see, that's what we've got. We live with what we have. Grebulon is in with $123.45. He says still on board. I'm going to read his note. He's been around. Celebrating a birthday today. We have him on the list. I'd like to recommend the TV series Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams, based on the short stories by Dick.
They're Dick stories.
Unrelated episodes, Black Mirror style, with many no agenda topics.
Ooh, okay. I'll watch that. Dick's Electric Dreams. Let me write down.
The best episode is the last one called Kill All Others. It's about a no agenda guy who's walking around woke in a sleeping world.
Nice.
It's not ending well for him.
Not so nice.
What do you expect?
Yeah, of course.
That's why we tell people to shut up. Mark Hall.
Hey, Mark Hall, our documentarian.
Hall.
Yes, the famous Mark Hall.
$100.66, and he's got happy birthday, John.
A belated birthday. That's why the 66 cents.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
I appreciate it. We have a few $100 donors.
Hold on. Let me read his note.
Okay.
The happy belated birthday, John. The show sounds very plush since Adam made the upgrade to Windows XP. Now it's NT 3.0. Running that sweet
Windows
XP. Redmond code. Good work, fellas. That's so Mark Hall.
That's a Mac guy. That's a Mac guy being snide.
That's Mark Hall and like, hey, I love you, Dick. Nice.
I like plush as the sound. Wait to hear my new Valve mic.
Ooh, your Valve mic will be plush.
They'll be plush.
I think plush may be a word millennials can't stand.
I'll ask.
Certain words that irk them.
I'll
so
put it on the list.
Like flesh. That a lot of people can't
You
hear
think it's
flesh.
the SH?
I don't know, but plush.
Plush. Flesh. Got any other ideas?
Flesh. Yeah, there's a couple of them.
Mensch.
Mensch. Moist. No, moist.
Not moist. That moist thing is bullcrap.
Nah, moist. A lot of people caulk.
You're supposed to be all women hate the word moist.
Moist.
Caulk?
Crunchy.
All right, onward. Let me reset this thing. We got Sophia Pendelea. $100.
Oh, you got to read Sophia's note. Just a little bit of it there.
Your show is like a breath of fresh air amid mass insanity that goes on around here. I have stopped following news a while back because I couldn't stand the mass hysteria and bias, and because the media outlets can't be trusted. Being a former Russian, and then Israeli citizen, I have long ago learned to mistrust media sources or ignore them altogether. So that comes naturally, I admit. But thanks to you, I'm finally back to being updated on what's going on in the world. I have been listening to your show for the past 2 months, and this is finally my first donation. As a single lady surrounded by millennial tech drones of Silicon Valley, I would like to ask for a relationship karma. Put a little of that on.
No, I'm going to give that to. She needs. This is a woman in a very precarious situation. We're giving her karma now.
You've got karma.
You're the karma button guy.
Well, I spoke with a buddy of mine. His wife is Russian. She's a doctor. Spoke with her yesterday, and I said, "Hey, what are you doing walking around? How come you're not locked up, you Russian spy?" And so she knows me. She's laughing. She's actually from Siberia. And she says, it's interesting you say that because anyone I talk to these days, they never bring up the spy thing. They always say, aren't all Russians prostitutes or gangsters? Like, wow, that's interesting.
Interesting change.
Yeah. And I apologized on behalf of the United Nations of Gitmo Land.
Michelle Winton comes in with $100 and says that she gave $100 because of that poor, pitiful puppy.
Boomski.
I knew it always brings in about $100 extra.
Oh, yeah. It's a $100 pup.
Yes, worth $100. Sir Timothy of No Fixed Title in Plymouth, Michigan, $100.
He says he makes
a tribute to Nick Dott's 4D's mother who passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry. She and Nick would. It's one of our listeners too, John. She and Nick would often listen to the show together. Nick and his brother are steadfast members of Michigan Local 1, and in lieu of flowers, I would like to support the show as a tribute to their mom, Sir Timothy of No Fixed Title, Plymouth, Michigan. Thank you very much, and we're sorry to hear that.
They're having meetups all the time. Jesse Rayo has a poop donation, 90.09.
Okay.
Which is poop.
That's a fantastic number.
Yeah.
9009, poop.
Stephen Hutto.
We need a
Sir
jingle.
Stephen, I think, is St. Petersburg, Florida, 8080. Chip number. It's kind of cool. Dan Pinkerton, 8008. Daniel
That's
Koch. Boob is also Boob, 8008. Kaylin Nistor in Northville, Michigan, 6776.
Sir Cal.
Lucas Lundy in Tacoma, Washington, 6432. Joel Nelson, 6008, which is the small lopsided boob.
This is a nice combo.
Yeah, I've been wanting to put it on the list of the master list.
I was hit in the mouth with my coworker Mark around Christmas of last year. This is my first donation. Thank you. The expose on the M5M and journalism as on a whole cannot be found as a package anywhere else. Keep up the good work.
True.
And don't forget our comedic stylings.
David Walsh, 5555, which is I guess it's 7621 in Australia.
Yes.
Sam
and today is Hug an Australian Day, John. I forgot to mention that.
Yes, it was in the newsletter, actually.
Yes. Well, that's why I'm bringing it up again. Hugs.
Hug an Australian. It's also, I think, a Jelly Bean Day, or maybe that was last show. Andy Benz, 5424. We got a birthday shout out. I think he's listed. She's listed. Violet.
Andy? Oh, no, I don't think this is in here. What do you see? Birthday shout out for my new... Yes. Violet. No, we don't have that. Let me put that in right away. Go ahead. Continue.
Sir Chris Sundberg in Mercer Island, Washington, 51. Sir D.H. Slammer, our buddy there, in $50.13. He wants a goat scream at the end. And following people are $50 donors: Matthew Yoder in Albany, Oregon; James Butcher in Dalwallinu, Australia, Western Australia; Mitchell Kaufman in Hillsboro, Oregon; Kenneth Lindbergh in Miami, Florida; Aaron Havens in Spring, Texas; Louis Ferreira in Newbury, Berkshire, UK; Niels Bonnicker. I think it's a sir.
It's Jose Ferreira.
What did I say?
Louis?
I said Louis?
Yeah.
Well, it's Jose. Well, here's the Louis. Louis Pastor, founder of the Al Pastor Taco in Miami, Florida. Sir Eric V.M., Baronet of the Valley in Van Nuys, California. Sir Craig, 50. Alexa Delgado in Aptos, California. Anonymous, $50. And Sir Alan Bean, last but not least, our regular monthly donor by check from Oakland, California. I want to thank all these folks for helping us out and contributing to show 1028.
Yes, and Anonymous wanted some M5M interview job karma. We have that packaged up and ready for you. And I'm not sure if we forgot to mention Sam Godwin in San Jose, because we were still looking at, we're talking about Hug the Australian Day. So these are all the donors, $50 and above, underneath our executive and associate executive producers. Our value for value model, the only way it works is if you participate in supporting us. You can do it in a number of ways. This one is obviously very important, and we appreciate all the support, especially people who came in under 50 for anonymity or on one of our many, many programs. And we're now going to add poop to it, I guess, as well on the main donation page. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
A nice list for today. Warren Sundquist is celebrating today. In fact, Sir Kelly Spongberg says happy birthday to Dame Andrea Spongberg. Grebulon celebrates his birthday today. Daniel Cook will be 33 tomorrow. Andy Ben says happy birthday and welcome to his new daughter, human resource Violet TPD. And Sir D.H. Slammer says happy birthday to Lady Simona. She celebrated yesterday, and we say happy birthday as well from your buddies here at the best podcast in the universe.
Title changes, turn and face the slave. Title changes, don't want to be a douchebag.
Now, Sir Craig came in with $50 today, and he also requested a title change, so he becomes Sir Craig, the 6'4", 9-inch knight. 6'4", 9-inch knight. I guess that's right. That's what it says on my sheet. Does that sound right? The 6'4", 9-inch knight?
I don't know. I think there's just maybe a gag in there. We can't figure it out.
Let me just see if it... Sir... Oh, no, 6 foot. No, it's 6'9". I was going to say...
6'9".
Yeah, but this is... the back office misspelled it. So, Sir Craig officially becomes the 6'9" knight. Hello.
That's tall.
Yes, okay.
Can he dunk?
What's the weather like up there?
Yeah.
You know what the only response is?
It's raining.
Yep, spit on him and say it's raining. Did your parents tell you that too?
What?
My parents said, because I was tall and very uncoordinated. And
that's what all the kids used to joke about.
Yeah,
so my
say,
parents.
Hey, what's the weather? But my parents, they said, well, if someone pesters you with that again, spit on them and say it's raining.
At least we know it's old, that gag.
Yeah. It's not a good thing to do, by the way, if you're tall and lanky and uncoordinated.
Yeah, you spit on something, they just punch you in the nuts.
I got punched in the face. Yeah, exactly.
Well, the face.
That's the last time I did that gag.
I can't believe you bought into it.
My parents were cruel.
I guess so. Talking about the dirty 30s, I got a couple more for you.
The dirty 30s. Yes, let's go. Okay,
what do you think all the way means?
All the way means going all the way. It means a home run, round 3 bases, and it's penetration time.
Chocolate cake or fudge with ice cream?
Okie doke. I'm sorry, that changed somewhere along the lines.
All wet.
All wet?
Yeah, all wet. Yeah, he's all wet.
All wet means he's out of money.
No good. It means he's no good.
Oh, he's no good. Okay.
Well, you're not getting any of these.
No.
Amici horn blower. The blower.
The blower?
Give him a call. Get him on the blower.
No, you already blew it. It's a phone. I know the blower being a phone. Yeah.
Okay. Apple.
Apple? Butt.
Any big town or city. New York being the Big Apple.
The Big Apple. Interesting.
Babe, broad. Here's the terms. Babe, broad, dame, doll, frail, twist, muffin, and kitten.
Zer.
Baby? What's a baby?
Baby is a cute zer.
It's a glass of milk.
Oh.
What's a bean shooter, a gat, a rod, a Roscoe, a heater, a convincer?
A weapon of some sort?
A gun.
Yeah, a gun.
A gat. I got a gat. Hey, where's your Roscoe? Bring it.
A gat?
I like Roscoe.
Roscoe. You're Roscoe. I'm strapped with my Roscoe, bro.
What's beat?
Beat?
Beat.
Beat. It's your beat. Is where you walk, or your neighborhood, your place.
Means you're broke.
Oh, you're beat.
Beat, man.
A deadbeat. That's very broke.
Yeah, exactly. Behind the grind.
Behind the grind is backstage at an MTV show?
Behind in one's studies.
Oh, okay.
Big house, who's gal?
Big house, the big house, the boss.
Who's gal?
Who's gal? I don't know. Who's gal?
Prison.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. The big house. Yes, I should have known that one.
You should have known that one. That's one against. That's -1. Bleed.
Bleed?
I'm gonna bleed him.
To cut someone?
No, to extort or blackmail.
Oh, rip him off. Yeah. I'm sucking at this game.
You totally blow.
Get me on the blower.
No, that was the phrase. Totally blow. No, blinkers, lamps, pies, shutters, peepers.
Oh, boobs.
She's got great peepers.
See, I got one.
No, it's eyes.
Oh, please. That's about
shutters.
Boobs. That's about boobs.
Shutters.
Okay.
Lamps. No.
Okay. Lamps.
Okay.
Yes.
Last one, and then we're going to do this next show. Ready?
Yeah.
Blow your wig.
To get on the plane as a president?
It's a good answer, but it means become very excited.
Yes, I thought it was to get very mad. But yeah, blow your top, blow your wig. I've heard those.
That's from the 30s. We don't use any of these. We got to get a few of these back in play. I like Roscoe.
Roscoe is good. I like that. Yeah, what else? Give me another one.
All right.
I'm annoyed that I get this wrong.
Okay, you'll get this one. Booze, hooch, giggle juice, and mule.
Well, that's alcohol.
The whiskey, in fact, but that's right. Close enough.
Yeah,
okay, here's one. This is a good one. You'll never get this. Brody.
Brody?
You can ask me to use it in a sentence.
Could you use the word in a sentence, please?
Yeah, he pulled a Brody.
Oh. It's like some massive failure.
Ah! Right.
But where does it come from?
It's a mistake.
Where does it come from?
I don't know, but I always thought, I didn't realize it went back to the 30s, because I remember when they used the word Brody, and I always thought it referred to the 49ers quarterback in the 50s.
Okay. And
John Brody.
Did he do something really bad?
No, he used to always run around the field like he was being chased by wild dogs.
Oh.
And he was known for making quick U-turns, and it was always cool. I always thought when they said pull the Brody, I thought that meant just turn around and go the other way. So I was befuddled, apparently, when I was a kid. One more?
One more. Last one.
Okay, there's a bunch of them again. Brunos, goons, hatchet men, torpedoes, and trigger men.
Yeah, well, these are foot soldiers of some mob.
Yeah, hired gunmen or other tough guys.
Yeah, how about
Okay, one more, just because you need this one. Bulge.
Bulge?
Use it in a sentence. He's got a bulge.
Oh, got a lot of money.
Having an advantage.
Oh. Well, that's all men.
It's like Battle of the Bulge, I guess. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But that was in the 40s, so that couldn't have been Battle of the Bulge. But it was a lost era.
Yes.
We're trying to bring some of it back.
Well, so far all we have is Roscoe.
Roscoe, I loved Roscoe.
Yeah, and I'd like you to find out where that's from.
Gat. is another one.
No, I like Roscoe. We can
I
implement
think there's some
that.
connection between Gatling gun and gas.
I'm sure there is. Yeah.
Okay, I'll find out Roscoe.
Milo Yiannopoulos.
Forgot all about him.
Yeah, he wanted a nice roast. He was with a friend of his, but I think some blog journo, and they had booked this place in New York, maybe on a Sunday, and they wanted to have a traditional English roast, which they make there, which I think you have to book that in advance. And they're in there, and then coincidentally, some other group of people who were identified by some name, I can't remember, which also included a couple of journos from, I think, one from BuzzFeed and maybe one from Salon. And this is what they said to Milo as he was standing there waiting for his table.
Nazi scum, get out! 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 Everybody pull up. Nazi scum, get out! Nazi scum, get out! Nazi scum, get out!
Bye.
Nazi scum, get out!
Bye. Hey, go home.
How insane is that?
That's very insane. What kind of civility are these people exhibiting?
I mean, first of all, to call him a Nazi scum, it just doesn't make any sense. It's just dumb. Yeah, and then and it looks like a reasonably nice restaurant. And what the hell is wrong with these people?
Wow.
Well, I'll tell you, it starts early on, and it all starts here in our countries. Early on, this is a story from Massachusetts.
Julia Hartwell loves her dolls and arts and crafts. And like most 4-year-olds, she has a best friend.
She said, so-and-so, you're my best buddy. The teacher told her that she couldn't say that there in school.
At Pentucket Workshop Preschool, that's not a term Julia can use to describe her friendship.
I think it's ridiculous. Children who are 4 years old speak from their heart, so they should be able to call kids anything loving. You're my best friend, you're my best pal.
The Georgetown Preschool offered this explanation to Julia's parents, saying the term best friend can lead other children to feel excluded, and it can ultimately lead to the formation of cliques and outsiders, encouraging their students to have a wider group of friends.
Although I think that words are really important, and the term best does have an implied meaning to it, I don't know if the right answer is necessarily denying children the ability to use that term.
Even now, she goes to say it in a loving way. I'm going to go see my best friend Charlie, or this one or that one, and she looks at me sideways as she's saying it, and she's checking in with me to see if that language is okay.
Christine Hartwell tells us her daughter will not be going to school the rest of the year. We reached out to the Pentucket Workshop Preschool for comment. So far, we have not heard back.
So I just found the contrast of these two clips back to back to be just astounding in context of our world today, where it's not okay for a child to say you're my best friend, a 4-year-old child, but yet you can stand in a restaurant and call someone a Nazi scum.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yes.
What the hell?
As a combination, that is a fantastic observation.
What kind of values are we espousing here?
Well, back to ABC, because we're talking about their report on this Jackson guy, the doctor.
Yeah,
was pretty lopsided. But ABC, which I'm now monitoring, I found this to be very dubious. That I want you to listen to this. This is about somebody had apparently taped, or they had written notes or something for a big meeting. The NFL's got this big problem with image. And,
because their TV show is being ruined.
And they had a meeting with the players about.
This was the secret recording.
Yeah.
Nobody
plays the recording, by the way.
Explain.
All right, so they had a meeting about all the owners and all the top players got together for some big meeting to try to resolve this kneeling problem and image problem of the league. But, of course, nobody wants to report on anything about that. They want to report on the fact that a couple of negative things were said about Trump. But I want to deconstruct this particular report that ABC does. I call it it's a hit piece. There's no real reason to do this piece at all, except just to give Trump a bad time, and I find it to be abhorrent. They got other things to do with their time, and the way they position this piece and the way they presented it was really nauseating, whether you like Trump or not.
In the meantime, we move on tonight. The recordings leaked. NFL players and owners, their private meeting, they were talking about NFL protests and President Trump. And the president's own friend, Patriots owner Bob Kraft, and what he said about the president. Here tonight, Gio Benitez.
The president and the Patriots again and again talking up his friendship with star quarterback Tom Brady and team owner Bob Kraft.
I have friends, they own teams, and Bob Kraft is a great owner.
Kraft even giving the president his own Super Bowl ring.
No team has been this good for this long.
But today, new recordings obtained by the New York Times reveal Kraft's deep frustration when the president attacked players taking a knee during the national anthem.
Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a off the field right now, out, he's fired.
The president's words, topic A, at a private meeting of NFL owners and players in October. According to the Times, Kraft called on the group to address the elephant in the room, this kneeling. The problem we have is we have a president who will use that as fodder to do his mission that I don't feel is in the best interests of America. It's divisive and it's horrible. Publicly, the Patriots mounting a show of unity on the field, Tom Brady linking arms with his teammates. And, David, several other NFL owners took on the president during that private meeting, one reportedly calling his presidency disastrous, another adding this, we need to put a Band-Aid on what's going on in this country. David?
Okay. Now, first of all, at the very end of that report, there's two gratuitous slaps. One of the owners says it's disastrous, and another one said we need to put a Band-Aid on something or other.
And why didn't they play the audio from those quotes?
I don't care about the audio. Why don't they just name the guys?
Well, yeah, there you go.
They didn't name the guys, but they did name Robert Kraft. So why do you name Robert Kraft, but you don't name the other guys? And how do you know that there wasn't somebody saying, yeah, the president's fine, he's got nothing to do with it? That could have happened too, but that's not going to be reported. And these other guys aren't going to be named because this may have not have even happened because they didn't have a tape of it. They just call out Robert Kraft because the president early on mentioned him as a pal, and they're just going after your friend of Trump's. We're going after you.
Yeah, wow.
It was a hit piece. It's designed to keep everybody silent about Trump.
Yeah.
I thought this was really a bad piece of propaganda, sent the wrong message. It was really poor journalism. And then to throw out two gratuitous commentaries, one that, the president's a disaster, said who knows who. We had his name. I don't know why we don't say his name.
Man, you keep this up, you're going to get the Presidential Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
sure.
Good catch.
You didn't even get invited to the inauguration, and you actually came out publicly.
Very early on.
Very early on, and were listed as in the celebrity list of people who came out for Trump, and you didn't even get invited to anything.
No. Yeah.
No. So we're not getting nothing.
I'm
doing this because this is a news deconstruction show, and that's a good example of shitty news.
Very shitty news.
Yeah.
More shitty news. This is starting to heat up in the Netherlands. I did a Bing It search and found more examples of this from 2008. But apparently some opera is now, I don't know if it's a conductor. No, not a conductor. But anyway, there's a big problem with Mozart's opera, the magical flute, die Zauberflöte.
Yeah.
It's apparently misogynistic and racist. Did you know this?
I know it now.
Yeah, if you
is there an explanation for this analysis?
Yes.
Is this when was this written, in 1640?
Yes. And the lyrics are they're very racist and misogynistic. You know, it's talking about women; they should be in the kitchen. His tongue is as black as his skin, saying, this black guy was a liar. Yeah, it's very racist. But I guess it's going to be off the books now. Burn it. Get rid of it.
Get rid of Mozart's got to go.
That Amadeus a-hole. Get rid of him. Isn't that great?
Yeah, that actually is great.
Just for the end of the show, I have these 3 clips from 60 Minutes last night because I promised earlier in this program, as you said, Facebag needs to be attacked by the media. Well, 60 Minutes did a pretty good job yesterday, and it wasn't hard for them. They got a hold of Alexander Kogan. This is the guy who did the psychological survey for Cambridge Analytica, which, of course, as we know now, the Russian bots retweeted the ads based upon this targeting, and Trump won, and Hillary lost.
That's the reason.
Okay. So first of all, the guy is a really personable, kind of nerdy guy. He's he taught at the university, and he starts off with just blowing everyone's mind with the true information. Which, if you didn't see 60 Minutes or you listen to the No Agenda show, you'll know all about this.
For someone implicated in the biggest privacy scandal on Earth,
ever,
Kogan seemed...
Really, this is the biggest privacy scandal on Earth?
What?
That's CBS 60 Minutes.
The biggest privacy scandal on Earth.
On Earth.
Okay.
I think the OPW, the OPM, the Office of Personnel and Management, was more scandalous.
And that's still ongoing.
Okay.
For someone implicated in the biggest privacy scandal on Earth, Kogan seems incongruously guileless.
Whoa. Incongruously guileless? What does that mean?
Well, it means there's some sort of, it doesn't make sense that he is so
guileless?
Calm and doesn't seem to think any of this is important or something like that. That's my guess.
It's just a great combo of words, incongruously guileless.
She loves her words, that girl.
Privacy scandal on Earth. Kogan seems incongruously guileless.
Before all this happened, what was your job and what was your field of study?
So I was a social psychologist. I was working as a university lecturer at the University of Cambridge.
In England?
In England. And I ran this lab that studied happiness and kindness. And
happiness and kindness.
Yep.
That's a far cry from the adjectives lobbed at him now. Sinister and unethical. Here's what he did. He asked Facebook users to take a survey he designed from which he built psychological profiles meant to predict their behavior. He failed to disclose, 1, that what he was really after was access to their friends, tens of millions of people he could not otherwise reach easily, and 2, that he was doing the survey for Cambridge Analytica, a political consulting firm that used the material to influence people on how to vote. The company's then CEO bragged about their prediction models on stage.
By having hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Americans undertake this survey, we were able to form a model to predict the personality of every single adult in the United States of America.
Well, did you get to the point where you were predicting personalities? Yeah. And you gave that to Cambridge Analytica?
Correct.
What did you think they were going to use it for?
I knew it was going to be for elections, and I had an understanding or feeling that it was going to be for the Republican side.
Tell us what you did.
Yeah, so I create this app where people sign up to do a study. And when they sign up to do the study, we would give them a survey. And in the survey, we would have just this Facebook login button. And they would click the button. Authorize this, we get their data.
Authorize us to do what?
To collect certain data. We would collect things like the location, their gender, their birthday, their page likes, and similar information for their friends. And all of this was...
But did you say you collected information on their friends?
We did.
But they didn't opt in.
So they didn't opt in explicitly.
No, they didn't opt in, period. They did. The friends did not opt in, and that's part of
it. It seems crazy now. But this was a core feature of the Facebook platform for years. This was not a special permission you had to get. This was just something that was available to anybody who wanted it, who was a developer.
Yes.
How many apps do you think there are? How many developers who did what you did?
Tens of thousands.
Tens of thousands.
Tens of thousands.
And Facebook obviously was aware.
Of course. It was a feature, not a bug.
They're going hard and heavy now. Leslie Stahl not messing around, and she's shocked.
Shocked.
Has she done no one has done any research there at CBS? Is she really shocked? Did she not realize this?
I think she is. I don't think they do research anymore.
Sandy Parakilis, who used to work at Facebook, explains.
The way it works is if you're using an app and I'm your friend,
the app can say, hey, Leslie, we want to get your data for use in this app. And we also want to get your friend's data. If you say, I will allow that, then the app gets my data too.
What you're saying is, I give permission for the friend. The friend doesn't give permission.
Right.
I mean,
it doesn't feel right when you say it out loud.
No, it doesn't feel right.
Right.
Facebook should have been aware of how this could be abused because they were repeatedly warned, including by Parakilis, who used to be a manager in charge of protecting data at the company. He says he raised concerns years before Kogan built his app.
I think they didn't want to know. You know, the impression that I got working there is...
They didn't want the public to know.
Well, they didn't want to know in the sense that if they didn't know, then they could say they didn't know and they weren't liable. Whereas if they knew, they would actually have to do something about it. And one of the things that I was concerned about was that applications or developers of applications would receive all of this Facebook data, and that once they received it, there was no insight. Facebook had no control or view over what they were doing with the data.
Once the data left Facebook, did Facebook have any real way to find out what happened to it?
No.
Or was it just gone?
It was gone.
Wow.
They could put it on a hard drive and they could hide it in the closet.
Would you say then policing this was pretty impossible?
It was very frustrating.
Did you bring this to the attention of the higher-ups, the executives?
Yeah, a number of folks, including several executives.
So were the executives' hair on fire? Did they say, oh my God, we have to fix this, we have to do something?
I didn't really see any traction in terms of making changes to protect people. They didn't prioritize it, I think is how I would phrase it.
So would you say that they didn't prioritize privacy?
Yes, I would say that they prioritized the growth of users, the growth in the data they can collect, and their ability to monetize that through advertising. That's what they prioritized because those were the metrics and are the metrics that the stock market cares about.
I'm going to send you that mute button so fast you have no idea. You've been hawking through all the clips.
I'm coughing. I've been talking for 3 hours, and now my cough syrup's worn off, so I'm coughing. I'm sorry. I'll get up. Yeah, you send me the mute button, it won't be a problem.
Okay, done. Last clip, and this is the kicker, because Alexander Kogan was not.
By the way,
yes,
Sheryl Sanders is the COO.
Yeah, it's totally, she knew.
She's the one, not Zuckerberg.
Yeah, and he brought it to upper executive management's attention, so she had to know. It has
to be Sheryl.
Yes, it has to be.
But everybody knows that of course, they don't care about other stuff. Their ideas, they are going to kill mainstream media with the. We've talked about this offline, with their ability to target people for advertising.
Yes, well,
the mainstream media has no prayer against them.
No, well, unless they do hit job after hit job. But there is some factual.
It seems a little late in the game.
Well. They're just now shocked and surprised that you were giving permission to get your friend's data. There's tens of thousands? These people kind of bubble does she live in? I mean, do some work, lady. All right. Here's the kicker, though. Alexander Kogan did not work alone.
The company didn't start notifying the tens of millions of users whose data had been scraped until this month.
Oh, and I hate that. I hate it. It was like saying glitch. The data was not scraped. Scraped implies you did some kind of trickery, hackery to get the names in a way you weren't supposed to. No. This was a part of the system, a feature, not a bug, as you say. Yes, so stop with your scraped.
The company didn't start notifying the tens of millions of users whose data had been scraped until this month. They never took action against this man, Joseph Chancellor, who was Kogan's co-worker.
And where is he today?
He works at Facebook.
Wait a minute. Did he have anything to do with the study you did for Cambridge Analytica?
Yeah, I mean, we did everything together.
So they've come after you, but not someone who did exactly what you did with you.
Yes.
And he actually works at Facebook?
Correct.
Are you on Facebook?
No, they deleted my account.
You can't be on Facebook. You're banned.
I'm banned.
And the partner...
Why?
Correct.
What's wrong with this picture? I'm missing something.
Yeah, I mean, this is my frustration with all this, where I had a pretty good relationship with Facebook for years.
Really? So they knew who you were?
Yeah. I visited their campus many times. They had hired my students, and I even did a consulting project with Facebook in November of 2015. And what I was teaching them was lessons I learned from working with this data set that we had collected for Cambridge Analytica. So I was explaining, like, here's kind of what we did, and here's what we learned, and here's how you could apply it internally to help you with surveys and survey predictions and things like that.
Any collusion? Facebook confirmed that Kogan had done research and consulting with the company in 2013 and 2015. But in a statement told 60 Minutes, at no point during these 2 years was Facebook aware of Kogan's activities with Cambridge Analytica.
Except when he presented the data and how he sliced and diced it.
Kogan is testifying before the British Parliament next week. He says he's financially ruined and discredited. Through his ordeal, he says he's come to see the error in the assumptions made by the tech world about Americans' attitudes toward privacy.
Now, this is... So, first of all, yeah, wow. The guy's partner who did all this work with him is working at FaceBag. He consulted on the very data he took. None of this came up in the 10 hours of testimony.
No.
In fact, quite the opposite. This was an evil guy. But his equally evil partner works at the FaceBag. This is
outrageous.
It is. And now he gets to the crux.
Now we all know what you did. Was it right?
Back then, we thought it was fine. Right now, my opinion has really been changed. And it's been changed in particular because I think that core idea that we had, that everybody knows, nobody cares, was fundamentally flawed. And so if that idea is wrong, then what we did was not right and it was not wise. And for that, I'm sincerely sorry.
And this, of course, has not changed. This is still the exact mentality of Silicon Valley. They're getting it for free.
Totally.
They're getting it for free. Everyone knows the deal. Everyone knows the deal, don't they? But they really don't.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, and they really don't know the deal. And that's the problem. Anyway, I thought that was good work on CBS's behalf. Leslie Stahl, dumb as she is, or at least dumb as she acts. I thought it was good. You know, I don't know if anyone cares.
Probably not, but
we'll pick up on
at
it.
Least they're getting, at least the mainstream media is getting a clue about these guys. This is a dangerous company for them, for their existence. This is an existential threat.
And here I thought we were the threat, the podcasters.
Podcasters, yeah. Well, play that podcast clip again.
No. Yeah. That's how we're discredited. Throw a show on that makes podcasters look like doofus idiots. Okay, boss. Good. No one will want to listen to that junk. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
It could be true.
All right, everybody. That is your media deconstruction for this Thursday, April 26, 2018, episode 1028. We return on Sunday with another episode for you, and who knows what will happen in the meantime. Anything could happen today. It is, after all, the show day, so until then, I am coming to you from downtown Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State, FEMA Region 6 on the governmental maps, in the 5x9 Cludio in the common law condo. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, well, remember, everything just gets worse. I'm John C. Dvorak.
Until Sunday, remember us at dvorak.org/NA, and as always, adios, mofos! I need a cab.
Cab. Taxi!
I had a swollen amygdala. Maybe my parents didn't know how widespread swollen amygdala is. While swollen amygdala shrinks for most, that wasn't the case for me. Maybe they didn't know I would end up a douchebag SJW because of my swollen amygdala. Maybe if they'd known there's a podcast to help protect me when I was 11 or 12, maybe my parents just didn't know.
Right, Mum? Dad?
What will you say? Don't wait. Log on to your child's podcast app today. Learn more at youmightdie.org.
Known to the American public to this day.
If we just put the pillow over our head and go back to sleep?
Why not tell the American people that...
Yeah, another great question.
That's not a great question.
There's a huge Russian effort to mess with our election because didn't know whether we had anything. We didn't want to tip off these Americans that were
This is cool, Elon.
yeah. Started looking, and there may be something there.
Dramatic headlines.
A bloke in a backyard.
I think he's throwing shade on
Funds are sitting on a billion-barrel basis.
Yes.
They talk about collusion.
Any collusion?
Democratic Party.
Well, I think they had their greatest hits of conspiracy theories.
Well, I hear you, but to get back to the point about conspiracy.
Syria. Cleanup process is going to start.
Yeah, well, I was just walking around.
Wow, I am really high. At different points,
That chemical weapon was used.
Me.
Not wait.
I became part of my own story.
It's facts and it's findings, but that's
butt squeezing.
Yellow is
still not determined. Uncomfortable.
now all
Determine the substance.
Knowledge that could have said
We stopped trying
when a customer makes
to us
committed.
genetically modified opposition.
This is an important conversation to have.
Call upon those exporters to bear the consequences
Assad
from action as some elements who survived.
Are you in cahoots?
mission is a go. Greatest hits of conspiracy theories.
Tonight, I'm going to make my own YouTube conspiracy video.
Information about the conspiracy.
They really were in cahoots.
Speaking of guns, the NRA is giddy today.
Nobody's going to tell me that kid did the shooting job he did from that damn bookstore.
She looks like a man.
Did you know that a third building fell on 9/11?
According to some on the internet, this is exactly what Elon Musk did.
I was rolling on the moon one day in a merry, merry month of December. May, that's right.
What if your mind worked like a television set?
How do conspiracy theories work?
You think of it like a mosaic. A lot of different pieces, a lot of different investigations that get lost in the noise.
Don't you think this has something to do with that?
Giga has this crazy conspiracy theory that they're suing over.
Not a scintilla, not a scent of evidence.
The human mind tries to find some sort of outlet for the grief or rage or just uncertainty.
I don't know what I know, but I know that it's big.
I think people look for conspiracies in everything because it's exciting.
Our amygdala, the part of our brain that processes fear, jumpstarts the part of our brain that processes information.
All I know is Obama was raised by a trainer in Indonesia.
He is telling the truth. That's why we're not going to air it.
But others have detected unexpected and frankly bizarre secrets buried in its pages.
He claims there's a conspiracy.
There's got to be so much more out there.
Best podcast in the universe.
Adios, mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA. Oh my God.